fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God!
God, what?
What does it take to win? Is it something you're born with? Is it the grind? Every day. Gear up. Do battle. For the 10,000th time. Or is it pushing to your absolute limits? To be faster. Always faster. Insanely precise. Totally free and at one with the game. Or maybe it's just getting to that place where nothing else matters. Nothing in the way of winning.
This is the world's premier online racing simulation. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat from your home computer with the most realistic online motorsports experience you'll find anywhere. Race virtually in the world's biggest events with officially licensed series, cars, and tracks. From the high banks of Daytona to the blistering speeds of Indianapolis, the dirt of Eldora to the world's most legendary road courses. It's all here, and with more than 180,000 people just like you already driving, you'll always have someone to race. Ready to get behind the wheel? Sign up at iRacing.com to get started.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to SimSpeed TV. It's the start of one of the biggest weekends in Australian sim racing. Here with us, the virtual racing school V8SCOPS Bathurst 1000 is here this weekend, and we get things underway tonight with the first two categories of our Logitech G V8SCOPS supports for 2022 to get the racing underway with a quartet of sprint races coming our way this evening. My name is Daniel Yeaman, Jake Kennedy alongside me on production and commentary for this one. Tonight we'll be joined by Reese Gardner shortly. The reason we're not with Reese right now is because he's currently out on track. Jay, the 2 Litre Tourers up first tonight in the events here at Bathurst this evening. And, well, real quickly before we get to the on-track action in qualifying, a look at the circuit here at Mount Panorama. As always, iconic circuit, 1938 when it first opened. Hasn't changed all that much with the exception of the chase. Would have been 1970s, I think, if I remember correctly, looking at the track history. Otherwise, 6.2 kilometers of some of the fastest and most flowing and most difficult racetrack, I should say, in the world. Definitely here in Australia and New Zealand, to say the least.
1987, the chase was brought in for the World Touring Car Championship and the Australian round, which was won in the end by the Holden Commodore, famous number 10 car, which was a late replacement for Peter Brock, and controversial win, which was won in the courts due to some illegal usage of car parts for some of the other cars. But yeah, brought in purely for that because the length of the straight was too long. It needed to have a chicane, and Australians being Australians, thought of a very, very ingenious way of bringing in a chicane into the circuit. So very, very cool part of the track, the chase. Of course, it was opened as a scenic drive as part of the reconstruction of the economy after the depression back in the 30s, and just convenient that the track, the scenic drive doubled as an amazing piece of road that could be used as a racetrack. So very, very cool history at Mount Panorama, but a track that's very, very infamous, not only in Australia and around the world, as one of the best that there is anywhere in the world motorsport landscape.
That is very true indeed. And, well, with the success it's seen, yes, here and also with international disciplines and categories, certainly has earned its place among the greats. Well, we'll turn our attention to the championship standings as things are after the last round at Imola 3 weeks ago. Looking first here, of course, the 2 Litre Tourers will be up first for their races. So let's walk you through the championship standings for them. Matthew Pluck, currently our championship leader, part of the KSR crew there in his number 51 Hyundai Elantra TCR machine. And he might have it a little bit easy here tonight, Jay, because both Carl Sampson and Isaac Edwards out of action this evening, meaning that, well, Sampson, one of the drivers obviously from the KSR crew as well, also who would often be challenging Pluck for results. That's a bit of a free kick to the number 51 machine. Isaac Edwards also out of action this evening with hardware difficulties. Means that opens the door for Dylan Jordan there in 4th place in the number 21. Another one of our Kiwi sim racing entries that here in 2 Litre Tourers have absolutely dominated the roster and entry list so far this season, but certainly been putting on a good show for us despite all being from the same team outfit. Probably his time to shine tonight. Rhys Gardner there you see as well in P5. Will be looking to hopefully make up a place perhaps on Isaac come the end of the night. 450 points up for grabs across the course of the 2 races, as always here in V8SCOPS Support Series.
Yeah, so lots of points up for grabs, and as you said, Jordan and Gardner be looking to get some big points, as well as Faulkner as well. Hayden Kirk, don't see him on the entry list as well, so he'll be competing in the main event on Sunday, so maybe putting in a bit of extra practice in for that. But yeah, really interesting championship fight now with, as you said, Sampson and Edwards away. It really opens the door for a really close end to the championship after we finish here at Bathurst for the final 3 rounds at Winton, Sandown and Road America.
Yeah, not much racing left here for the 2 Litre Tourers. Once we get past, well, including tonight's action, 8 races remain on the 2 Litre Tourers calendar. Here is the format for tonight. It's the 60-60 sprint for both this category here, and the flat 6 is coming up just after this one. So around here at the mountain, that's a 10-lap race. Make that 2 races as well. A 35-minute time limit on those races in case of a need for safety cars to intervene, and therefore no required pit stops. And currently in the midst of a 10-minute open qualifying session, but because it's a heat server, that time you see up on screen will see us straight to the first race once we hit 0 on the clock. So for most of these drivers, they are now on to their final flying laps with the best time in session currently at 2:18.7. Not too many more drivers going to get a chance to come across the line. I think that might just be it. Rhys Gardner in the 94, I think, has just crossed the line. He will be the last one across in time. There's the drivers coming down Conrad straight here. They're going to come across the line, and that will be checkered flag for them here. Brett O'Keefe in that number 22 Hyundai Veloster, one of the few Velosters here in the series tonight, Jay.
It's the first one we've seen all season.
Indeed, the Elantra domination has been pretty strong here. Veloster, though, certainly more or less a match. Shane Best directly ahead also. Going to be one of the first cars across the line to finish their session. Eyes on O'Keefe here, looking to improve on where is O'Keefe? Apparently I can't find him. That'll be because he doesn't have a valid time yet. O'Keefe goes to P4. Wait, no, pardon me. That's
P12.
P12, apologies. It's there we go. It was a bit all over the place. There we go. Sort that out. P12, unfortunately, provisionally last on the board, but there are a couple of cars who haven't done a time in qualifying. That is his session done.
We said that we couldn't see Carl Sampson on the timing sheet. That's because he's a late entry. He's only just come in and punching out times. We missed him in practice, so he's out there. Yeah, so it's only Isaac Edwards that's missing from that list. So that does change the championship once again. So Sampson's done a couple of purple sectors on this lap, as has Damon Mulqueen, as has Thomas Hinz as well. So Hinz will be the first one across the line. We'll see what he does when he jumps up the timing sheet after crossing the line. Also, a side note, Brady Baldwin will start rear of grid. He's breached the golden rule of V8SCOPS, no escape rule, had to escape back to the pits after getting damage on his outlap.
Well, bit of a mistake there from Mr. Baldwin indeed. Thomas Hinz across the line, 2:19.0 is an improvement, sends him up to P3. Currently 3.5 tenths off provisional pole. Damon Mulqueen, your current pole sitter, goes across the line, not able to improve though. So door open for Carl Sampson in the 27. Yes. Can he improve? Yes, he can. 2:18.652 sends him to the top of the sheets. by just half a tenth as Matthew Pluck slots in fractions ahead of Thomas Hinz there. Looks like Rhys Gardner unfortunately not going to improve. P10 will be the absolute best he starts this race here.
Looks like everyone is across the line and done for the session. So our grid is settled, and this is how the field will start the first race of the V8SCOPS weekend.
Yeah, it is indeed. We've got a lot of racing to bring your way across the weekend. 4 races tonight. We're going to have another 2 races tomorrow, in addition to Bathurst 1000 qualifying and top 15 shootout, and then the race itself. So it's a total of 7 races and a whole lot of racing to get through in the meantime. But speaking of, let's walk you through the grid for the first of our 2 races here in the 2-litre Tourers. Carl Sampson, that late time enough to stick him on pole, just ahead of Damon Mulqueen. They earned barely half a tenth in it between those 2 drivers here tonight. So looking forward to seeing how they go here in this first one. Mandela Pluck next across the line. We'll be starting out at P3. Thomas Hinz just alongside him, and another KSR car barely pipping the competition there, but they line up on the inside there. Well, on those rows. It's 3rd for Pluck, 4th for Hinz. Henry Thomas Kircher actually brought into this round as a wild card for Carl Sampson up there on pole, but the 777 plonks himself into P5 with Ewan Baker alongside for P6. So how's this as we kicked on down the list? Dylan Jordan in P7 and Matthew Pluck in P8. That makes it Kiwi Sim Racing 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we finally get to our next non-KSR car with Ben Faulkner, the 042, starting out at P9. Rhys Gardner alongside him in P10. Shane Best out of 11th in the 122 machine, with Brett O'Keefe alongside to round out our top 12. And then it's only Lindsay Hobbs in the number 4 machine. Brady Baldwin will be another car to take the grid in the number 7 machine, potentially, although currently not in session, I don't think. And Stead Miller, the final car that will be racing tonight. Unfortunately, he's been ejected to the rear of the grid and a long way behind everyone else, being placed behind the grid spots reserved for our manual safety cars this evening. Brady Baldwin will take the start of this race. Jay Heath lining up alongside Miller on the what is actually the 9th row of the grid, but there are, as I said, several spots opened up for the safety cars. As the timer is about to hit 0 here, about to get this race underway.
And Barney decides the green flag can fly right about now. Took a little bit longer, long hold there. Horrible start from Mandela Pluck. Actually, that entire second row, horrible start. Back of the field too, Baldwin and Miller, horrible starts too. But we're going to get through up into turn 1 clean-ish. Yes, we're going to get through okay. I got to be worried there. I started to say we're going to get through clean, and then there was a bit of elbows out racing, but we have made it through.
Yeah, it was a little bit dicey there at the front, and you can see the guys at the back just making their way around the final turn now. And it looks like Brady Baldwin and Stead Miller a long way off the pace straight away. Of course, they were several rows back, but even worse start for them than I even thought. So Mulqueen going to get the inside of Sampson here into Griffin's Bend. He takes the race lead off him. Meanwhile, further on back, Thomas Hinz is going to get up the inside of Ewan Baker there, I believe, and also Thomas Kircher there in that 777 Elantra going to try around the outside of Baker, but no dice here into the cutting on lap number 1. So they go single file through here for the first time now, all nice and tidy as they make their way up the hill. And now the slipstream in these cars is going to be interesting as we jump on board with Mandela Pluck in the 51 and also enjoy a bit of a webcam feed thanks to Pluck here on the Zoom call as they come across apologies there. Apparently I'm getting all my names all kinds of crisscrossed.
Too many of the
Thomas
same. Kircher.
Oh, he's going to find the fence at Skyline and a track jam as the cars come piling on in. Oh dear, Rhys Gardner, Brett O'Keefe, Lindsay Hobbs all running into each other as a result of having to pile on the brakes, and O'Keefe's lost it further on down the S's there in the 22 machine. Oh, Brady Baldwin separately to all of this has found the fence, and we've got several cars. O'Keefe's car is very broken. He's either going to have to limp it back to the pits or he's going to need a tow back to the pit lane. And we might just get ourselves a lap 1 safety car here. And indeed, safety car deployed by Henry King in race control. And unfortunately, we only get half a lap here on the mountain before we bring things under yellow here in the first race of the weekend.
And Bathurst often provides this sort of thing, doesn't it? But still disappointing to see a safety car out on lap 1. Let's try and pick up what's happening here. I'm guessing he's just run a little bit wide at the exit of McPhillamy. Yep, off into the dirt, hits the inside wall at Skyline, and everyone else tries to avoid him. Easier said than done.
Yeah, unfortunately there. You can see here, and that's why Brady Baldwin lost it. Went the only way he could to dodge the stricken Lindsay Hobbs post-wreck, and unfortunately for Baldwin, that's caught the grass on board with the number 4 of Lindsay Hobbs here. So we see cars wide, and then everyone's on the brakes trying to dodge, and unfortunately not able to pull it up in time, and just runs into the back of the group. Had jammed on the anchors to go single file. Brady Baldwin just shooting across there in front of Hobbs. And unfortunately for Brady, in the grass there on the brakes down the hill. I'm actually going to jump back to Brady here. A ways back, unfortunately, thanks to an unfortunate grid slot positioning with the safety car and all. But unfortunately for him, he's going to arrive on the scene at speed and then have nowhere to go but the grass, which will completely lose control here. And yep, just that little bit of steering angle, enough to send him to the barriers quite hard there.
Disappointing end to that for Brady, but he'll be back in the next race. Faster, better, stronger. He'll learn a fair bit from that, unfortunately. But yeah, safety car out nice and early. Not what the drivers would have wanted, not what we wanted in the booth, but it will bring the field back up together, though.
That it will indeed. Stead Miller will be the main beneficiary of all that because, again, like Baldwin, Stead sent to the back of the grid and actually was on the grid behind the safety cars, which was quite the disadvantage in terms of physical positioning, let alone the starts there. But yeah, we hopefully will go green at the end of this lap here. We advise that intentions with the safety cars will be to keep them pretty fast and furious, as the stricken cars have been given permission to clear the circuit. So I would believe that that will mean we should see a safety car pull away down Conrod Straight this time, get back to racing. And indeed, confirmation from the race control team that we will get this race back underway to start with lap number 3 of 10. So get most of this race done at speed, at least here tonight, to start things off.
Yeah, which is what we want to see. We don't want to see too many laps under caution. We want to make sure that we get as many laps as possible under green flag conditions, and the safety car coming in now will help us along in that.
So, having taken the lead off of your man in P1, so yeah, Damon Mulqueen, now the driver who will lead everyone back to green. We'll have to wait for the safety car to return to the pit lane in a not too distant future here before he'll get a chance to control the start. But you know, these TCR cars, 350 brake horsepower or thereabouts, but also tyres that start very cold, and with only half a lap at racing speed for most of these guys here, it's going to be a pretty rough restart. I reckon they'll have to be careful not to overdrive the cars, even though it is a sprint race, because that will be important as the safety car is given instructions to pull away on board here with that 001 machine as it puts the foot down to clear on out back to the pit lane. And now we wait for the instructions to allow this race to restart as they all form up. 80 kilometers per hour pacing speed. And then it will be the question of when we see these drivers get back underway. I can also see Henry Thomas Kircher and Reese Gardner have returned to the circuit, but yeah, lengthy pit service for those guys, which means that they are a long way back, and even with the 80k pacing speed, these guys will be at race speed, but a long way off the back of the train when this race restarts.
Positive that they'll be considering is that long race still, I mean, still 8 racing laps to go, and there's every chance we'll see another safety car come out in this one. Just the nature of these cars, the nature of this track, there is every possibility that we'll see another safety car.
That is a good point indeed. So we're through the chase now, heading down to the final turn. Mulqueen continuing to pace here as we head towards that final corner at Murray's, and obviously makes sense. You want to time this right. If you're the race leader, go through the apex with the position when you can hit the power down. And indeed, on the exit of Murray's, he puts the foot down, leads the field back to green here at Bathurst for the first of our races here in the 2-litre Tourers. But Sampson and Pluck are going straight with him here down into turn 1.
Good restart from most of the guys in the field there. Miller and Best a little bit tardy at the back, but that's okay. As long as they get through the turn 1 safely, it means that we will be A-okay, and they have. So everyone through turn 1, much nicer than what we saw in the first go-round. We'll see how this lap goes. Old Queen a little bit more confident as he approaches into turn 1 this time, with it being single file.
still single file at the front of the field here. Top four starting to break away a small amount. In fact, trouble potentially with Dylan Jordan. Lost a couple of spots there through Griffins, and indeed has been overtaken by both Shane Best and Stead Miller, it looks like, is on board with the 18er Miller here up the hill through the cutting. Now on the back of that number 122 Honda, one of the few Honda TCRs in the field here. Although of the cars available, Jake, certainly the Honda's been one of the more popular relative though to the dominance that has been the Elantra. There is your lead Honda TCR in the hands of Thomas Hinds, but closely shadowed by Ewan Baker there in the number 34, apologies, as our leaders come down the S's here for the third time in this race. First time properly now at race pace.
Hinds be trying to get himself forward as quick as possible. Get himself up into that fight for the win in this race. He's been very, very good when we've seen him in this series in the past, so it'd be good to see.
Indeed, hitting just over 250 kilometers an hour, it seems, for most of these cars, and then hard on the anchors into the chase. And look at that, Hinds is squirming this car under brakes. Bit of apex curb through there and a lot of steering as he tries to put on the power nice and early. Car looks reasonably well behaved, but still all single file. Shows the nose for a second under the Armour All Bridge, but tucks back in line for Murray's. And then just kissing the apex curb there, a little bit unusual in the sense that you generally don't try and eat that apex curb too much. It's very easy to unsettle cars if you do take it, but we come across the line once more to start the fourth lap of this race. All still single file, but, well, looking at Mandela Pluck directly ahead of him, so I reckon two would like a go at that third place as they stand. The grid will be as they are for, in this, I should say, they come back, well, start the next race as they were.
Progressive grid for the night.
Progressive grid in these 60-60 sprints. So, unfortunately for Brett O'Keefe and Brady Borwood, they will start behind the safety car once again if they're unable to get a lap on the board to at least get themselves in position, due to the fact that they have taken some serious damage and still currently in the lane taking repairs as the field makes their way up the hill once more, and all still single file for now as they try to follow the leader. And Mulqueen still keeping a small margin, 3.5 tenths, as we jump on board with the man in P2, looking at the rear of that 42 in the leaders. A small lift through the exit of the grate, of course, in these cars, and then down and over to McPhillamy Park.
A lot of brake and throttle needed in these cars across the top of the mountain. You think even in the V8 or the Porsche or GT3 cars, you're almost full throttling, maybe a lift, a tiny little dab of the brake, but you're fairly aggressive on the brakes through the metal grate. So there's a lot more braking needed, as there's been an issue for Benjamin Faulkner and I believe Matthew Pluck across the top of the mountain. We'll see if we can pick it up.
I'm seeing that too, issues for Faulkner. Also Lindsay Hobb further on back, unfortunately 2 laps down on everyone else, has also had some issue. And oh dear, there we go. Excursion to the grass for Faulkner, and that's just caused Pluck to check up to avoid making contact with him. And then as they come down the S's, Pluck's on the normal line. Is able to get on through, but the left side of the 042 is certainly worse for wear. And just like Thomas Kircher on lap 1J, unfortunately a little wide at McPhillamy. Actually, that's Ewan Baker ahead, taking a bit of a complimentary trip through the grass. Unfortunately, or luckily I should say, in Baker's case, does not snap out into the fence on the left side of McPhillamy there as they came down to Skyline. Unfortunately for Faulkner, he will be straight to the pits to fix that one up, and I don't think we'll be seeing him out before the end of this short race as we start the 5th lap of this one here. And you can see now Mandela Pluck under fire from Thomas Hinds here, really allowing the top 2 to break away here.
Yeah, that gap at the front has really broken away. 1.5 seconds between second and third now. Sampson not quite able to apply the pressure to Mulqueen that he would like, but his pace is still pretty good. But Thomas Hinds the one looking to make moves, and Ewan Baker is right there, isn't he? He's ready to pounce, ready to take advantage of the smallest mistake and potentially contact between Pluck and Hinds.
I think Hinsey, they're trying to get tucked right onto the bumper of Pluck, but she gets some overlap on the way into the turn, and that means that he gets stuck on the outside for Griffin's Bend. He's able to hang on to the left side of the road and cover off the line into the cutting, but Baker now really all over his bumper once again. But at the same time, Jade, Pluck there in the 04 machine, not able to break away despite the compromised exit from turn 2 that Hinz had, and that means this time over the top of the mountain, they should close back up a bit more, and then they'll get the run down Conrad straight and close in some more here with the advantage of the slipstreamers. You see here, over the hill they come. Ben Faulkner actually already back out of the pits. 31 seconds of repairs is all apparently it took for him to get that car sorted out and in a drivable state at least, as he returns to the circuit back in P10 and actually comes out a little bit ahead of Reece Gardner still. Unfortunately, the 94 of Gardner still a ways on his own. Is loose into the elbow for Pluck. That's going to give Hinz a good sniff, but actually backs up the cars a little bit here. On board with 52. Down Conrad straight we go.
Yeah, in regards to Faulkner, I'm wondering if he may have just had a blown tyre or a tyre that got ripped off the rim, which you can have happen with the new damage model on these cars now. So could have been something as easy as just changing the tyre and away he goes again. But Hinz not able to get the drive out of the elbow as you would expect, and just can't quite get close enough to potentially get the move done. Ewan Baker, you backed out of it early to make sure that he wasn't going to make contact with Hinz, but a much better run through the chase, maybe close enough at Murray's. Pluck doing a great job of defending. Halfway through the race, 5 done, 5 laps to go.
Oh, turns in, but not able to get it to stick around the outside of Murray's. It's a pretty tough spot to make it work here as they come up the hill to Hell Corner once again, and this time Hinz on the defensive from Ewan Baker. One of the KSR cars here now trying to give Pluck a bit of relief, perhaps to, well, force Hinz on the defensive, but through Hell Corner they go, and they go back to single file. A chance now for Hinz to close up the gap even more once again. Current margin between them all is at 0.3 of a second in closing as they come over the crest here on Mountain Straight. Baker 10th and a half behind Hinz, but no one able to make the moves. All trying to play the games here into Griffin's Bend, but it's single file affair this time by as they all maximise the exit and as they begin the climb to the cutting here, and then the climb up and over the mountain proper.
One of the toughest places to get around the mountain up this section here. The steepest part of the track. Don't realise until you actually walk the circuit how steep it is. Doesn't do justice. And down the hill through Metal Grate, the highest point of the circuit. And the descend of Mount Panorama begins. Hinz using the curb a lot through McPhillamy Park. And a little scrape on the wall there too for Mandela Pluck at Skyline. Just using the wall on the outside to help slow the car down. Not actually hitting the wall, just grazing it the tiniest little amount to help slow his momentum.
Pushing the limits and then some, but Pluck is extremely loose down into Forest Elbow, it would seem. But able to get the drive out for the most part, it would seem. Apparently some issues at the moment for Henry Thomas Kircher, and yeah, 777 unfortunately minding his own business, but I think he's found the wall somewhere up at the cutting because he is off pace, and yeah, look at that. The left side of his car definitely damaged and not doing too well, and yeah, that steering angle
that doesn't look right, does it?
The picture. It's a lot like what we saw from Ben Faulkner's car for a moment, actually, if I might say. And well, yeah, we'll talk about him later because the fight's on for P3. Hinz down the outside at the chase means though he's sent to the outside for Murray's corner to boot. And now surely here he gives up, but no, he goes late on the brakes. Going to try swing around the outside of Mandela Pluck, and he does, but contact on the exit thanks to Pluck finding the apex curve. Bounces Hinz out wide, and Ewan Baker's going to be the one to capitalise and go all the way from P5 to P3 in one fell swoop here.
Right place, right time for Ewan Baker. Wrong place, wrong time for Thomas Hinz. And Matthew Pluck as well. Don't count him out of this little battle here too. He's only 1.5 seconds back. You see him just at the back of shot there. He's in this fight now. And another little incident like we just saw there between Hinz and Mandela Pluck means Matthew Pluck's in this too. So we're going to have a 4-car fight for the final podium spot here with 3.5 laps to go.
Here we go into Griffin's Bend once more. Hinzy trying the outside, but there's just no grip out there. Of course, the cambered nature of the road there and the crown that produced as a result just off the single line means Hinz is hung out to dry, especially in a car that's so reliant on having front-end traction and can easily, of course, power understeer because, well, you're asking the front tyres to turn the car, but also be the tyres with which you put the power to the ground. So, unfortunately there, lost opportunity for Hinz. He'll have to try again down Conrad straight, you'd think, but we'll see what Mandela Pluck can do there now with the slipstream of his teammate in Ewan Baker, but he's loose. coming into McPhillamy, really getting the rear end of the Elantra to step out. And in fact, that's not even enough. They're both, him and Matthew Pluck behind, both opting to get a bit of grass on the way across McPhillamy. And then just watching the rear of the Elantra, it's quite interesting. The Honda in comparison looks to be a lot more straight and will rotate naturally, whereas the Hyundai is really threatening to have the rear end snap out away from the front. And relatively speaking, yet that's how it's getting its rotation. Though this time by, it's not enough. Hin's already looking to the inside here. We're coming through the kink at the start of Conrad Straight, and now he's beginning to inch alongside. This surely now means that it's going to be advantage Hin's, but look at this from the Hyundai Elantra. Tiny bit of slipstream perhaps, and Baker up the road, but they're already about a second behind as they come over the crest here on Conrad Straight. Finally, that Honda pulls a nose ahead as they come down into the chase proper. Side by side under brakes here, Jay, and it looks like Hin's finally, with the apex ability to shut the door on the exit, gets the place on Mandela Pluck. But he has to now try and chase down Ewan Baker to get back to that P3. And, well, Mandela, he's not going to give this one up. Tries and forces Hin's narrow through Murray's, but he has to go over the apex curve, and that compromises his exit just a little bit. But again, able to get a decent drive and force Hinsey to defensive all the way to the pit wall here to start lap number 8.
And you see in the background too, Matthew Pluck now only 6/10 back, only about 4 or 5 car lengths away. He is right in the fight. I said he wasn't far away. Well, he's well and truly there now. Hins, Pluck and Pluck fighting for 4th. Ewan Baker now got 1.5 second advantage over these guys as well. The front of the field still as it was.
Oh, it's not.
No, it's not. Carl Sampson's got through.
He did at the end of that last lap whilst we were watching Hinsey and Pluck scrap down Conrad. Basically, exactly the same thing was going on up front. Sampson able to get up the inside through the kink at the chase, and Mulqueen unable to defend the spot as we watch it here on the replay thanks to Virtual Racing School. And well, Mulqueen defends the inside of the apex down at the chase, but Sampson, great slipstream, nose ahead through the kink, is able to get the car ahead, and then actually draws alongside still through the chase, and actually just Mulqueen clambering over the apex curb there actually kills the run for him, and job done at this time. But 2.5 laps still remaining, and these two now broken clear by 5 seconds from Ewan Baker. Expect Mulqueen to put on a stiff fight here, you'd think, to try and get that race win back here as they come down the S's. And you watch again, these KSR machines, the Elantras in particular, all looking incredibly dicey and snappish at the rear, but it's working for them for the most part here. Although this time into Forest Elbow, Sampson a lot straighter, a lot like Mulqueen's car in that particular instance. 4/10 the gap at the elbow as they come down Conrad Straight. Is that gap going to close enough for Mulqueen to make another attack to get back to the race lead? It's not closing as quickly as I think Mulqueen needs.
Mulqueen's got nothing to lose here though in this situation. He's got a very hefty championship lead. He's got 5 seconds back to the car behind. He might as well throw it up there and have a go, and probably thinking right now about where he can do it and when is the best time to do it. He's not planning the move right now, but he's thinking about when he's going to do it on that final lap. As the Plucks change position, Matthew now back ahead of Mandela. I think this is all now just scouting Sampson for that last lap dive.
Yep, well, watching the timing tower there, we came down Conrad Straight. The magic number looks to be 2/10. If you're within 2/10 off of Forest Elbow, that's what Mulqueen will need to be able to make the move down into the chase and be able to pull alongside as they're coming into said chases out of out of Hell Corner, up Mountain Straight they've come. Gap was about 0.3 of a second. It's going to close down to inside 2 once again. So if he can maybe be within a 1/10.5 on Mountain Straight, maybe 2/10 again at Hell Corner, has a chance here into Griffin's Bend, but that will be quite dicey and obviously expose him to pretty vulnerable attack as they go down Conrad once again. But nose to tail for your top two as they head up into the cutting. Also want to keep our eyes, I think, on Ewan Baker and Thomas Hin's. Gap is still 0.8, 0.9 of a second between those two, but Hinsey is just on the edge of draft there from Baker. Might be able to make something work here if he can have an absolute blinder of a lap now and then set up a good first half. It might need a mistake though from Baker to see something change there for P3.
Well, it could just be that he just needs a little bit of draft help, doesn't he? He just needs that tiny little bit of draft, gain 0.5 second down Conrad Straight, 4/10 down Conrad Straight, and then he's there with 1 lap to go. So Hins just needs to make sure he nails this run at the exit of the elbow. Use the draft to his advantage. Just close up the gap. He doesn't have to go and get a huge gap. That is a damaged front left wheel for Mandela Pluck, though.
He's found the fence. The 04 is wounded. And unfortunately, it's another KSR car. Way too aggressive at McPhillamy and slams into the left side fence and the right side fence for good measure. The 04 is very much, well, both of those front tyres are knocked in aggressively. Inside a 10th and a half from Damon Mulqueen as he comes through the chase, but he's not quite there. Just sizing up Sampson, almost thinking about a move there, but they go single file and maximise the exit here. At the end of lap number 9, we're going to have ourselves one lap to sort this out between Sampson and Mulqueen to take the crown here in race number 1 of 2. Now, can Damon find the run that he needs off of Hell Corner, potentially, but most likely off of Forest Elbow? Let's see what this final lap brings as Barney brings out the white flag.
Mandela Pluck's limping it back to the pits. He's trying his hardest to not DNF this race, but he's going to struggle to do one more lap with the damage to that car. So I think he's going to have to bring it into the pits and fall one lap short. No surprise he does have a mechanical black flag. Hins in that run down into the chase. Got it to within 2.5 tenths of a second as Mulqueen has a think about it. Mulqueen's there for first. Hins is there for third. And Dylan Jordan's making moves as well. He's now up into 6th position.
Swept around the outside of Shane Best, he did, in the 122 Honda. We'll keep you posted on what happens further on back, but focus is certainly still on your top two here as they begin the final climb up past Sulman Park first. On the exit gap, about half a second here. Mulqueen's going to have to close it back down the hill as they come past the Grayton Reed Park. Really quick here, up and over the curb there for Mulqueen on exit, but the flow's looking nice for both cars as they then crest into McPhillamy here. Still around half a second between these two as they begin the descent down the S's. Going to need to be something pretty powerful here from Mulqueen. He needs that gap down at around 2 tenths to have a genuine go down into the chase. Otherwise, you'll have to absolutely lob it under brakes. Certainly not out of the equation, but he needs to be a little bit closer if he wants to make it work. And indeed, there it is, closer now. 3 tenths on the exit of Forest Elbow, but a little slow there. Sampson able to get the momentum. I think he's just made this one stick.
I agree. I think it might have been too little too late for Mulqueen. It's just starting to gain time back. Interesting, Mandela Pluck decided to continue on rather than coming into the pit, so he's going to try and hold on to that lap. But Mulqueen, is he close enough? He's at that 2 tenths right at the kink, but I don't think he's quite there. Can have a try.
Going to go around the outside here at the chase. Forces Sampson narrow. That does compromise the exit here. Can one final chance to dive it up the inside at Murray's. Sampson, though, will white line it to the inside and is able to come across. Mulqueen will try the outside line here for Murray's corner. It's actually going to be a fantastic race. Around the outside, Damon Mulqueen's going to get it at the line. Fantastic stuff.
Never see passes around the outside at the final corner that actually work. But Damon Mulqueen has pulled it off, steals the win by a 10th. Incredible bit of driving to steal the win away. Mandela Pluck still limping down the mountain. He has been passed by Faulkner and Reese Gardner, so those guys have got on through. But what a move there from Damon Mulqueen to literally steal the win at the line.
I am amazed to see that one work in a front-wheel drive car. That's grip limited as a result. He just powers around the outside, despite it being cambered inwards, and there it should have been favouring Sampson, but I can see that bobble there. Sampson, I think, just grabbing a bit too much of the apex curb, and Mulqueen, given enough space from Carl, is able to power around there, and there is your finishing margin at the line here in race number 1. Fantastic stuff between these two. They've been putting it on race after race since Damon came and joined the series. And there are your provisional results here in race number 1 of 2 for the 2-litre Tourers here tonight at Bathurst. Just over a 10th of a second, as we said, covers the gap between Damon Mulqueen and Carl Sampson. And a fantastic fight all the way to the end between those two. Ewan Baker holds on to P3 ahead of Thomas Hins. Just not even 3 tenths of a second there between them. Matthew Pluck settles into P5 at the end of that one. And then it's quite a ways back to the next group of cars. Dylan Jordan came out best of the rest in P6 ahead of Stead Miller. Both of them able to get round Shane Best at the end of that race. Hit the 1-2-2. We'll have to settle for P number 8. And then the recovering Ben Faulkner will have to settle for P9. Reese Gardner, likewise, after his the lap 1 carnage at the top of the mountain, will end up in 10th. And then from there, it was the final couple of drivers in the hands of, I believe, unfortunately, pardon me, Mandela Pluck was there again, the 11th the final driver to limp it home across the line. Him and Thomas Kocher 4 laps shy of the end. We'll start this next one from 12th. Brett O'Keefe behind him, 7 laps shy of the end, will be 13th, and then Lindsay Hobbs in 14th place. And unfortunately for Brady Baldwin, did not get back out on track. We'll start P15, technically though behind one of the safety cars on the grid for this second race. So completely progressive grid. We've just walked you through the results and therefore the grid order as well for this second race, and we'll be back out on the track racing in just a couple of seconds thanks to a very brief 1-minute warm-up here to allow us to have walked through the results and get ready to go again here, Jay.
Interesting that the drivers had the option of doing a tiny little bit of practice and practice starts. Thomas Hin's the only driver to take advantage of that. He did 4 or 5 practice starts in the pit lane. So he's thinking getting away from the line, absolutely crucial. I need to do a better job of getting off the start line. And he's trying his best to try and make that work. A little bit of devastating news though. Mandela Pluck has had a technical issue, and it doesn't look like he's going to make the start of the race, which is very heartbreaking considering how the end of the race went for him then. For it then to get even worse is quite devastating.
Yeah, that is indeed not what he would want to see. So we'll see if he gets a chance to get back in time. But no, 20 seconds left before we get this one underway. And that will mean no chance to fix that up in time.
Brad O'Keefe might have the same issue too, I think.
Oh boy, so several drivers potentially not able to be back in time for this second one. 5 seconds left on the warm-up timer here. Or grid timer, pardon me. And we're going to get this one underway for another 10 laps around the mountain. Revs are up here. We wait for the green flag from Barney. There it is as we get this one underway. And Mulqueen looks like he's going to have the better start of the front row. Thomas Hinds indeed. That practice in that warm-up session just valuable, but it's going to be Ewan Baker, the P2 at turn 1. Can Hinds slide up the inside? He's going to try. And Sampson, having led the middle part of that race, goes from second on the grid to 4th in the matter of about 150 metres.
Not the best start for Carl Sampson. Great launch off the line for Mulqueen, but an even better start for Ewan Baker. That was absolutely beautiful from him. And back into single file they go at the front of the field. At the back of the field, Lindsay Hobbs side by side with Henry Thomas Kircher, who's trying to make his way back forward after a horrible start to the night. But they've made it through turn 1 safely. The bad news is we made it through turn 1 safely last time. Fingers crossed we're safe this time.
See how things go here. Up the hill we come. Shane Bess is all kinds of loose in the 122 Honda. Thankfully, though, was in a bit of a pocket of his own air. But that means he's under pressure now from Reece Gardner on board with the 94. Around the outside at Silverman Park might be a bit dangerous, so he tucks back in line and look at the understeer there for good measure on this first lap. That was certainly not a place to try too wide in these cars to get things underway. And look at that, multiple taps. The break is Best in the fence. Ooh, there at the grate. He does straighten back up in time, but now he's wide into McPhillamy, up on the curb and the grass. Everyone going past him in a single file. It's called Gardner and Thomas Kircher, I should say, get on through, but it looks like it's Operation Freight Train, the 122 here, as they come down into the dipper and almost runs in the back of Thomas Kircher, Jay, and therefore compromises his exit. Lindsay Hobbs, the next car, looking to line him up here, this time into Forest Elbow. He'll settle for, I think, waiting for the run down the straight here. It seems indeed he will set up for Conrad here as, yeah, Bess is having a bit of a hard time here on the opening lap. I think he has picked up some damage. I'm going to jump on board with Best here, and steering looks straight though on board that 122, so either it's very minor or just cold tyre jitters here for Bess. Is up for the front of the field. There we go. Side by side between Hinds and Baker as they fight over P2, and Hinds gets the job done up the inside as Bess is all kinds of loose further on back. Does he hang on to that car back there? No, he does not. Unfortunately, he is around and down into the gravel.
Unfortunate for Shane Best. He'll bring it back through.
Baker and Hinds!
Oh no, Baker in the wall.
Not quite. He actually kept it off the wall, but only just. Fighting with Hinds over P2, unfortunately comes out quite the bit worse for wear as he now falls back into
P5.
Yeah, P5. Apologies, my timing is not updating by position. It just got me a bit confused. So, going to go back and have a look at the replay here between these two. Starts here at the chase and able to, well, tried to go around the outside to Ewan Baker, but not able to make it stick. So Look at them both on the grass on the exit of the chase there. Forced to the outside and then goes to the inside with a beautiful crisscross under brakes here. Space given, but up on the curb and just a bit of contact in it as a result. Unfortunately, half spins it. Thankfully out of the fence, but gets freight trained by both Carl Sampson and Matthew Pluck. Though he is on the back bumper of Matthew Pluck as they come back to live pitches, climbing the hill for the second time in this race. We're still green here, although it has certainly been a pretty crazy opening couple of turns. On board with Hins and enjoying some pedal cam here with the 52.
See how much throttle work there is. So little lift there, but now look at the little bit of a brake tap coming down the hill into McPhillamy, and then heavy brake now. They're coming down through Skyline, easing the brake, and tiny little bit of throttle, easing the brake, tiny little bit of throttle. The throttle just to straighten the car up, make sure that the fronts aren't doing too much work under brakes. It's very delicate getting yourself down the hill in a front-wheel drive car, isn't it? It's amazing how much wheel work and pedal work you need to do to get down the mountain fast.
Certainly is. And there's little taps of throttle, but for the most part, Hins just trying to be patient, make sure it's one single action to full throttle in these cars, which is often, therefore, a little later than you would see out of a rear drive car. As we see here, Baker thinking about a move on Matthew Pluck, but not close enough to send it. But Matthew Pluck, he's going to send it a bit too deep himself, and completely unforced error is going to run across the grass here on the exit of the chase. He will pick up a slowdown for his troubles, and Ewan Baker take a free place back up into P number 4 for the 34s. Unfortunately, there for Matthew, not quite what he wanted. And now
Still got a slowdown to set up too.
Indeed, yeah, has not cleared that slowdown at all. So going to try and let Dylan Jordan go around the outside. And in fact, Ben Faulkner will follow KSR teammate Jordan there through. So the top 5, Mulqueen, Hins, Sampson, Baker and Jordan. And well, unlike the first race where I had to deal with Carl Sampson giving him a whole lot of troubles there, Damon Mulqueen has absolutely checked out here. And perhaps with no safety car in part there doing its bit. But it seems to this stage, Kinsey up into P2, able to hold down that spot for now. We'll see what Carl Sampson can do, but then he's going to have a lot of work to try and cut down a 3-second margin on Mulqueen, that have been so evenly matched for the most part this season. Is the magic word I'm looking for here.
Ben Faulkner trying to hunt down Dylan Jordan. Remember when we looked at that championship standing graphic earlier, they were not too far away from each other as well. So this is how this battle here has big championship implications. They come across the top of the mountain for the 3rd time in this race, the 13th time for the evening. Faulkner, a good recovery from where he started, considering, remember, at the end of lap 1, he was in the pits serving a mechanical black flag, was rejoining in about 12th position. He's now back into 6th on this progressive grid, so that's very good to see. Brady Baldwin back up into 11th after starting last in this race as well, is a good little drive through the field. We'll be looking for more spots as well. And good to see Brett O'Keefe has made it back out onto the circuit. I was trying to talk about that earlier before we had that little moment between Hins and Baker. So good to see he's made it back out on the track after his little issue. Still on the lead lap as well.
Yes, he is, but only just at this
Yeah,
rate.
he might lose the lead lap, but he's still out there for now.
Yeah, indeed. The safety car would be exactly what he needs to sort things out, but it looks like everyone's playing a little bit more calm and control. We haven't had any chaos moments up at McPhillamy Park, which was the cause of what we saw in the chaos that happened earlier on. As we check out this lovely static shot as the field works their way down into Murray's Corner, and then likewise the shot there with Hell Corner as you then turn to make the run up Mountain Straight. There is 2nd and 3rd on the road, and pursued by P4. Thomas Hens, Carl Sampson, Ewan Baker. Sampson about 4/10 back, but closing here in the initial phase of the acceleration up Mountain Straight. Let's have a look here and see how things go. Fastest lap of the session, meanwhile, has gone to Ewan Baker in P4, by the way. Able to pull 2/10 on David Mulqueen's time that previous lap. The top 4 all sitting in and around the mid to high 2:18s at this stage. They are the pace of the field well and truly by a bit. Actually, Dylan Jordan, pardon me, can be counted in that. Also a 2:19.0 for him, and Ben Falcon on a 2:19.1, not too far behind as well, all things considered. Interestingly, Matthew Pluck on 51 doesn't have a valid time yet on the board, so he's certainly pushing the limits, it would seem, at this stage. Currently, on the 4th lap, no valid time to his name if I'm to believe my timing.
Yeah, correct. So remember, lap 1, he had a little scrape on the wall. Lap 2, he had the slowdown penalty from the runoff at the chase. Lap 3, he hadn't cleared it to start that lap. This will be his first actual proper attempt at getting a lap time on the board officially.
Indeed. Yes, unfortunately, I completely... I was trying to think why on earth that would be the case, and the answer was handed right to me on the silver platter.
I'll look after you, mate.
There we go. Perfect. That's what we like to hear sometimes. As we check out the view from the back of Thomas Hinz here, gap is currently at 0.4 of a second between him and Carl Sampson. Sampson not able to get the run over the top of the mountain. He needs to be in a position to make a move here. So I'll stay all single file for now, and Ewan Baker on the likewise closing up behind, but not close enough to make anything of it either. So all quiet in the fight for P2. But I think it's going to start heading up for P6 here. Matthew Plucker is getting pretty close to the rear bumper of Ben Faulkner. And one good run off of Hell Corner. I reckon Matthew's going to have a good chance to set something up at Griffin's or save it for Forest Elbow and the run up Mountain Straight. Again, those Kiwi sim racing cars are looking very loose in the rear. A lot of rotation under brakes and in the mid-corner, but this time by it doesn't look to have helped Matthew. He's getting the draft back now once they're accelerating up the hill, but the initial getaway off the turn does not look to be beneficial, as Damon Mulqueen meanwhile went fastest of the race, 2:18.651 last time around. Pretty close, but not quite as... How's that, though, for mid-corner speed from Matthew Pluck to the outside? You'll have to look into the kink here at turn 3, and that would be a pretty crazy option, so he will choose to slot in line for the cutting. But okay, so maybe the low corner speed for these some of these KSR Hyundais is a little bit lacking in terms of its design for mid-speed rotation. Question is if that's the right call to make here. It'll certainly be beneficial over the top as he gets it turned in there at the grate. Keeps on the bumper of Faulkner, and again here at McPhillamy, the car's got a lot more sideways angle and slip in it compared to what Faulkner has. The question is, does that pay off here in these slower turns, such as the Dipper, the Elbow, of course, and Murray's? And the answer to me, Jay, is not really. Look at there, off of the Dipper this time by Thomas Kircher behind, able to close up quite a bit more than what Matthew Pluck was able to do in relation to Faulkner ahead.
It's interesting too, the different lines that the guys are taking across the top as well. Some are really wide and late coming into Skyline. Some are taking it very, very straight. It's always interests me seeing how different people approach the top of the mountain, considering you've always think and have thought for so many years, top of the mountain is one line and there's only one line through, but everyone takes it so differently. It's so spectacular to watch the way that different drivers attack that section so differently. Two true battles though now. Battle for second between Hinz, Sampson, Baker, well and truly on. This battle for fifth has got very, very heated. Dylan Jordan's lost a lot of ground on this lap in comparison to Pluck, Thomas Kircher and Faulkner ahead.
As he was just a little bit ahead of the trio, but yeah, Faulkner's put on a really good turn of pace here, 2:19.3 that last time around, 0.4 quicker than Dylan Jordan, as Brett O'Keefe, unfortunately, his time on the lead lap has ended. He steps aside as these guys make their way on through. Good awareness though from O'Keefe to sort that one out and allow our top 8 to get on through without any dramas. More cars behind will be looking to get by at some point soon as we focus back in on Ben Faulkner here, running in P6, but it's a top 5 finish here, you would think, and again, able to have a bit more of a buffer behind to Matthew Pluck, and the gap he's looking to cut down ahead to Dylan Jordan, although I say that, and the gap's even up through the cutting there. 4-2, not able to get the drive out a little better. We'll check in with them later on as the fight is back on for P2. Gap inside 2/10 at the top of the hill here into McPhillamy. between Thomas Hinds and Carl Sampson. Both cars pushing the limits, but keeping it all in check so far, it would seem, as they come back down the mountain here on lap number 6, coming into this second half of the race. But look at the drive the Honda has through the S's and the dipper, able to check out to a comfortable 0.4 of a second, if not half a second there. And that, if Carl Sampson can't figure that one out, that's going to leave Hinds pretty comfortable every time they come down Conrod straight like this.
Well, does it also leave him susceptible to Baker behind? Because he's also in a Honda too. So is it something related to the Hyundai? We've been talking about it all night, how it didn't quite look as stable through that section. Well, that could mean that Ewan Baker might be able to take advantage of that. Although coming down Conrod and into the end of the straight and up to the chase, it's where the Hyundai has looked strongest. But through the top of the mountain and through, especially through McPhillamy and through the dipper, the Hyundais have not looked as good, have not looked as strong. But Sampson still made it work, hasn't he? He and Mulqueen have both made it work very, very well. They've both been very, very quick and both been very, very consistent.
Indeed, it is for the most part generally one of the more favoured TCR cars in the collection. But we're seeing the Honda hold its own here in clear air as well. The Hyundai, one of the things that generally is pretty good with the Hyundai is the straight line speed. And even with a slipstream, not able to close down that half-second margin off of Forest Elbow. But how about this for a margin here? Inside 2/10 already as we're coming up to the crest on Mountain Straight. Looks to the outside, does Sampson, as Hinds covers it off, and they go middle of the track. Switch back from Sampson to the inside here for Griffin's Bend. Up the inside under brakes. Hinds going to have to respect that one there. He doesn't get the job done though to Sampson. He's going to have to go a long way around. And in fact, he loses the spot to Hinds, and Baker backs out of it though. Not going to fight Sampson this time. Byers further on back in that group behind. The pressure is on. Dylan Jordan relieved as Ben Faulkner has to defend from Matthew Pluck on the Exeter Griffins. These guys are all getting very, very busy here on lap number 7.
The only driver in the top 10 that's not, top 8 I should say, that's not in a battle is our leader in Damon Mulqueen. He's just looking in his rear vision mirror thinking, keep fighting, boys. You're helping me out immensely with the fighting going on. In Sampson Baker is very, very heated, but Matthew Pluck is the closest to anyone. This is a huge slide coming over the hill at McPhillamy Park. Held onto it very, very nicely and still kept the boot into it, but ruins it there.
There we go. That rotation from the 51 machine that I've seen all night long finally bites him, slaps the fence at the skyline, but looks to be carrying on okay for the most part there. He does have a slowdown for his troubles, thanks to cutting the S's.
Slide again there too,
Yeah.
so he's struggling. I reckon he's got a little bit of wheel damage as well. And he's going to lose one spot. We'll stay with the battle up the front because Sampson is closer this lap than he was the one previous. He is down to that 0.2 of a second bracket. We said 0.2 at the corner at the kink at the chase. Could be enough to get a move done. He's decided not yet. He's just sitting and watching, waiting.
Yeah, I'd realistically say you want it to be down to about 1/10.5, if not 1/10, to really be confident with your options at the chase at least. As we're going to check out the virtual racing score replay and see here the slide from Matthew Pluck. It was good to get him turned in there at McPhillamy Park initially, but then the second part slides on in there as they come over the crest and, yeah, thwacks the wall pretty handily. And unfortunately for Matthew Pluck, that has seen him drop back into P8, but also well off the back of the trainer cars that he'd been racing with. He'll have his work cut out with 3 to go if he wants to try and regain a position in that fight, unless something goes awry. Back to live pitches and back to the fight here for second. Let's see what happens here on tape number 2. We saw fantastic crisscross before we got to the braking zone here from Sampson. This time though, Hinsey, middle of the road, is not opening up the inside for Sampson. They will go single file through Griffin's Bend. As a result, gap increasing up ahead, as of course to Mulqueen as a result. Not by much, because Hinsey was able to get it back to mid-track before the turning point, but the scrap continues. And yet, interesting to see here that Sampson not really strong through the bottom half, well, the descent of the mountain and Conrod Straight, but very good it seems off of Murray's and Hell Corner now. The 90-degree turns down the bottom, which are somewhat flat, seemingly coming into his own at this point in time with 2.5 laps to go here.
Not much racing left in this one. It's only 15 odd kilometres left, so they really have to work out where they can get this move done. Sampson and Baker, if they want to get through on Hinds. Good chunk of points to steal away as well. There's actually been a move. Oh no!
Oh no! Indeed! Ben Faulkner into the fence along with Henry Thomas Kircher up the top. into the S's. What on earth is going on there between those two?
Well, there's definitely been contact. We know that. But what's brought on this contact?
Oh, Faulkner's up in the
grass.
grass. That's fine, but side by side. So they come down this. Oh, Thomas Kircher gets loose and loses it. And as a result, slides the nose across into Faulkner. And Faulkner's parked nose into the fence at the S's. Oh, that's a tragedy there. And he's still stuck as they just trying to get out of the way. But unfortunately, he's on the racing line. Meanwhile, it's on for P2 as well, Jay. As Faulkner's going to get going here, but Sampson tried up the inside of Hintz. He was pinched so narrow, though. Ewan Baker's going to come on through to take that spot and try and line up and run at Hintz himself.
Can confirm the safety car is on standby in case Faulkner cannot get away, but it looks like he has. So, a bit worried that we were going to see a safety car come out. Here we go.
Yeah, if the safety car had come out, we would have had the one-lap dash. Almost certainly the intention would be to get the safety car out for a moment, bunch the field very quickly, but then go again. Thomas Kircher and Faulkner both sporting mechanical black flags as they're both now trying to get their cars back to the pits. In fact, Thomas Kircher is actually touring the grass down at the chase, struggling to turn left, it would seem. And Faulkner sort of going for a Sunday cruise down Conrad. Unfortunately,
he's going to have to bring it in.
Those two guys, they will both certainly have to get those things back in. They will not manage 2 laps, as the crab angle there on Thomas Kircher's car pretty pronounced. Faulkner's car actually tracking somewhat straight, if you're to believe.
It's only got 3 wheels, though.
But yes, 3 wheels on your wagon is certainly not the way to be able to get around here, as he limps that thing back to the pits as well. So safety car still well and truly parked there. Don't think we'll be seeing it out in this race as a result, because, well, we're down to a lap and a half to go here. And look at this. Carl Sampson has dropped off the face of the earth compared to Hins and Baker as they come across the top of the mountain this time. Baker, just a wheel in the grass there through McPhillamy, but able to keep the momentum in the lineup to speed very nice through the S's here. Hins is looking strongest of them all still through the dipper, and that setup just seems to be giving him the buffer he needs once he gets down here to Forest Elbow and then the run onto Conrad. A little bit more composed in that 52 machine. It's not putting him under as much pressure, but let's see here, Honda versus Honda, what things are like down the end of the straight.
Oh, Faulkner has stopped, and with only 3 inflated tyres, it's going to be difficult for him to get going. Hard to get drive with a flat front tyre in a front-wheel drive car, so you can see he's struggling to get it turned. Oh, that's not only flat, that's full broken. He's in big struggle street now, is Benjamin Faulkner. I don't think we'll see a safety car because we're about to see the white flag. He's been given permission to tow back to the pits, so this will be it. One more lap, one more chance for Ewan Baker to get through, and one more chance for Carl Sampson to close that gap back down again.
Yeah, indeed. Baker, though, that time through the chase, a little bit too hot, ran it into the grass, and gap opens up as a result. Meanwhile, Stead Miller's gone for a bit of a journey through the grass as well. Further on back, he'll lose a spot to both Lindsay Hobbs and Brady Baldwin. So we've got a fight on here for P8 as well between Hobbs and Baldwin here. And look at this, to the outside of the grass.
Oh, grass.
That's the grass, Brady. Oh, he's going to half lose it, but he just barely touches Lindsay as a result.
Front wheel
All cars
drive.
carry on. Stead Miller gets back into P9. So that fight, unfortunately, ends a little bit quicker than I was hoping it would, because I was thinking that might be a good scrap to catch at the end of the lap after we see the leaders through at the end, as your top 3 now exited Griffin's Bend. As they then come up to the cutting, as Ewan Baker got left in the car, gap half a second between him and Thomas Hins. It's going to have to be an absolutely magical run over the top, you would think. That or some kind of error from Hins, as it's up to 6/10 on the exit of the cutting, as he then come up into Silverman Park for the final time.
He's going to have to work very hard across the top of the mountain, but remember we said the Hondas have looked best across the top. So if any car can make this ground up across the top, it is the Honda. The downfall is he's chasing another Honda. So will he be able to do anything magical across the top here? Look at how much more stable these 2 cars look than what we've seen from those Hyundais all night long. Oh, I tell you what, that was close to that inside wall. Baker is pushing it as hard as he can right now.
Certainly committed, but unfortunately the gap's still at half a second. As they come through Forest Elbow, and just a little too deep perhaps. Yep, gap climbing on the exit of the elbow. Unfortunately there for Ewan Baker. He tried certainly pretty hard, but Thomas Hins, his priority was the exit of the corner, and it's paid off quite nicely. Gap still holding at 6/10 as they crest Conrad Straight for the final time. in the 2-litre Tourers tonight. But meanwhile, it's been a pretty quiet race for the 42 after having to fight with Carl Sampson in race 1. A fantastic move around the outside of Murray's corner, the likes of which I don't think I've actually personally seen here at Bathurst. Despite that, in this one here, Damon Mulqueen unchallenged from the get-go, rounds the final turn to make it 2 from 2 once again here in the 2-litre Tourers for the Logitech G V8SCOPS Support Series. And Mulqueen will take home full points for the weekend here in the category. Hinsey hangs on to P2 ahead of Ewan Baker. And then Carl Sampson, Dylan Jordan around your top 5. Final battle pack here is Hobbs, Miller and Baldwin. Does Stead Miller have something left in it? But 0.3 of a second is one hell of a lunge if he wants to make something stick here.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to do.
Well, Baldwin shows the nose, but they will show the nose, but no, they'll go across the line. It's like, whoa! Brady Baldwin. Unfortunately, going to make one more trip to the fence there to wrap things up for him. But at least alive and well, mostly.
Yep. Right point to hit the wall at the finish line is on the last lap, because you don't want to do it after beforehand, because then you will find it difficult to get the full lap around. But everyone has crossed the line of the cars that started out. Of our 14 starters, all 14 did finish. 12 of the 14 finished the race, with a couple of drivers out with 2 laps to go. Mulqueen and Hinz, though, first and second, with Ewan Baker in third. Carl Sampson, he'll probably be disappointed with how he got away from the line. Made it very, very difficult for himself. Finishes 4th. Dylan Jordan in 5th. Matthew Pluck in 6th position, with Reece Gardner, Lindsay Hobbs, Stead Miller and Brady Baldwin rounding out the top 10. Shane Best and Brett O'Keefe, the last of our finishers. Henry Thomas Kircher and Benjamin Johnson unfortunately did not finish the race. And Mandela Pluck, technical issues put him out before he could even begin.
Unfortunate shame there to have one of our drivers unable to finish things up here. Before we go, real quickly, we will have a quick chat to our round winner with the clean sweep there. Damon Mulqueen joins us in the commentary box. Damon had to fight for it in race 1, but an absolutely incredible mover on the outside of Murray's corner to steal the win off Carl there at the end of that first race. Did a fantastic job with that one. Second race, was it a little bit more enjoyable having no pressure, or were you sort of a little bit lonely up the front there after the guy started scrapping over P2?
Well, race 2, yeah, it was pretty lonely, but I enjoyed it a lot better, knowing I didn't have to really fight or anything and overdrive the car, because it's super easy to do those around here. So while, you know, it was semi-disappointing not to be racing like I did in the first race, you know, it just made things a lot easier, so I really can't complain.
Yeah, fair enough indeed. Safety car there seemed to obviously bunch the field back up in race 1, even though we were only on lap 1 when the safety car was called. I guess it gave Carl a good chance to have a crack at you there. And I guess, how much time did it sort of take you to sort of try and set up that attempt at a pass on the final lap? Obviously a good go into the chase, but had to resort to the run there at Murray's. Did you think that one was going to stick around the outside there?
I had absolutely no idea it was going to stick. I thought I'd, you know, sort of chase him all the way down to the braking point and then move out just to not cause contact, because last thing I'd want to do is punt Carl on the final lap after we've had some pretty awesome battles across the season so far. So I just sort of went there and, you know, sort of tried taking it about the speed that I thought I needed to just get around the corner without going off, and somehow managed to, you know, pull it around the outside. And I was pretty dumbfounded when I saw that I was in first, and it's like, okay, I'll take that. I won't complain.
Yeah, indeed. Well, we'll see these 2-litre Tourers back in 2 weeks' time when the Support Series head to Hockenheim at the end of the month, 30th of September on the Friday night for these cars. Another one of the 60-60 sprints here in the final phase of the season. And what do you think about that combination coming up for you?
Well, it's going to be interesting because, you know, the whole first half of the track really is just all straight, really. So you got to be able to, you know, have the straight line speed. But then when it comes to the whole stadium section, you got to have the car planted for those mid-speed and the one low-speed corner, the 2 low-speed corners, sorry. So it'll be an interesting balance, I reckon, in the setup. Yeah, you're just going to have to try and find the best compromise that works for you and that, you know, you can work with to hold the other guys off and while being ahead.
Well, it's a good point to make there indeed. Before we let you go, Damon, who do you want to thank tonight for the results?
obviously I just got to thank the guys at Synergy Sim Racing. They've again provided me with another amazing Hyundai Elantra. To all our sponsors, we can't get it done without those guys. To you guys in the comms booth and broadcast for putting on the show. Then to the series sponsors and series sponsors and the whole admin team that make all this work and all that. And just quickly got to put a quick what's the word? Quick. Unfortunately, tonight on the car, running a bit of a tribute to Pete Dixon, who was New Zealand's Super Saloon 1NZ. He unfortunately passed away from gone from bowel cancer. Sorry. So just thoughts and prayers with the family during this difficult time. To all his crew, his sponsors, and all that. Thinking about you, and just go, if you think there's something going on, go get checked, because, the sooner the better detected, the better chances you have of coming out of it on the other end.
Appreciate the message there, Damon. To wrap things up there, round winner clean sweep for the 42 here at Bathurst in the 2-litre Tourers. And we'll have a quick chat, see if we can keep things nice and condensed here. Thomas Hinz coming home second place in race 2 there tonight. Hinsey had to work for it there with the KSR boys, but able to hang on there to the end despite the fighting.
Yeah, thanks Dan. You're getting a lovely in-car interview. This is like the old days with Brocky and Neil and everybody. It was a very interesting couple of races. Obviously TCRs have been updated, I think, in this build, which I actually didn't realise as I was driving it, and I was like, okay, this feels a little bit different, so I had to adjust to that a little bit. It was a lot of fun though. Obviously the Honda's still not that quick in a straight line, so that didn't help, but had some really good battles in the first race. Didn't quite get the podium, but nearly there. In the second race, managed to hold back Carl and Ewan, which I was very happy with. I didn't think I was going to be able to hold them, but just kept getting really good runs across the top and was doing enough to stay ahead. So very happy to get a couple of good results out of it.
Yeah, definitely looked like it was the run down the hill from the Skyline. The Honda definitely looking a little bit more controlled and therefore getting much better drive to protect you down Conrod Straight, despite that speed differential you pointed out there. Looking like a good night of racing for you, all things considered. We'll hopefully see you back in 2 weeks' time when the supports head to the Hockenheim ring. Yeah,
it should be, obviously on schedule and everything, but hopefully should be there for that one. So that'll be a very different beast to Bathurst, obviously, a lot more open, a lot smoother, flatter. Probably going to be, if anything, going to be a bit more annoying in the Honda, because it's a lot more straights, I feel like, and I think the top end of the Elantra is going to really come to its own there, so it'll be a bit of a struggle, I feel like, but assuming I can make it, I'll do my best to try and get the results I can out of it, and hopefully, obviously now focusing on the Porsche, so hopefully can get some good results here to get a nice double up results.
Yep, another 20 laps of racing to go here for the flat sixes across their races. Well, before we let you go, Hinsey, anyone you want to thank for the results there in the 2-litre Tourers?
Because again I was messaged again, I'm assuming that was you, Ben. Thank you again for triple reminding me. Jinx Shifters, obviously, big thanks to them. Obviously, the car looks fantastic with that sponsorship on it. The same with the Porsche as well. So big thanks to them for the support and to all the other sponsors on the cars. And obviously, big thanks to the Henry James guys. They're all just such an awesome group of people. So big thanks to them for support as always, and for putting on the supports. And big thanks for you guys for putting on a great show.
There we are, Thomas Hinz, P2 in the second race of the 2-litre Tourist tonight, and we'll wrap up the interviews for the first pair of races in that one. We'll take a short break here at SimSpeed TV, but as you heard and saw there on the screen, Flat 6 is coming your way. 20 more laps of racing across 2 races for them. Stay with us here, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got with the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my god! Oh! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Six very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Welcome back, everybody, to V8SCOPS Supports for 2022. The V8s are racing tomorrow, along with the Jetta Cup, and we've still got one category to go here tonight, the Flat Sixes, after a couple of scintillating races in the 2-litre Tourers. Same race format as the TCRs, 2 10-lap sprints here in the Flat Sixes. And to bring it to you all live on SimSpeed TV, I'm Reese Gardner, taking over from Dan Yeaman, who's racing in this category, and Jay Kennedy alongside me still, and bringing you these live pictures across the world on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch as well. Well, Jay, I've been looking forward to seeing the Flat Sixes making their way around Mount Panorama, but I think the TCR races certainly showed how brutal this place can be for anyone who's unfamiliar with it.
100%. It showed that the smallest mistake has the biggest repercussions. So making sure that you capitalize on others' errors is one thing, and making sure that you don't make errors of your own because they become so exacerbated at this track is such an important thing. So looking forward to seeing how the Porsches go. That was some really cool racing we saw in the flat sixes, but these Porsches are going to be very, very fun, very hectic, very fast, and very cool to watch.
Indeed, these cars are just about as quick as the Australian touring cars around this place, but they get their speed in different places. It's more about their pace through the corners than anything else. Here's the race format for tonight. It's another 60-60 sprint, 2 10-lap races, exactly the same as TCR, no required pit stops. It's going to be out-and-out racing from start to finish, unless, of course, there's a big fat incident on lap 1, and the safety car comes out like we saw in race 1 of the TCRs.
And it's very, very possible that we will see 1, 2, 3 safety car periods throughout the night, because we've seen in other races in this category that one incident can then lead into another at a safety car restart. So getting one safety car restart can instantly lead into plenty of them. It should be very, very hectic once we see green flag racing. Huge championship implications for tonight's racing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at those championship standings now. Cameron Dance in the lead of the championship by only 82 points from Thomas Hens. And looking at the drivers in the session tonight, looking like I can't see much sign of Cameron Dance setting a lap so far in practice. Anyway, I saved myself a little there, didn't I, Jay? I was looking at the list and I thought, there is no Cam Dance. But I managed to cover it, and then I gave myself away right away. But still, looks pretty close between Hins and Mazomo here, with Mazomo having a really good season so far, falling a little bit in the last round of the flat sixes, but still, there's plenty of racing to be made, especially look at the gap there between Oaks, Hall and Courtney for 7th.
Yeah, exactly right. It's really, really tight in that mid-pack. It's been tight the whole way through as well. I mean, we've seen lots of drivers be very, very close throughout the championship. We've seen lots of drivers evenly match for pace throughout the entirety of the season as well. No Isaac Edwards tonight, unfortunately, as we said earlier. Tech issues has meant that the championship fight for him is done for this round, and it will put a big dent on his championship overall. But the championship at the front between those top three, Dance, Hins, Mazomo, tonight could be a game-changing event for those guys. It could really change how the championship complexion plays out.
Indeed it could. I'm looking forward to seeing how it all pans out here. Of course, we have a few minutes left in the practice session before we go for a 10-minute qualifying session with a hard cut at the end, and then we head straight on into the first heat. Interesting to note, Jay, that Dan Yeaman, who led us through the TCR race, is going to be racing in flat sixes tonight. I remember last year in the flat sixes at Donington, the first time I ever spoke to him after he won at the Donington round of flat sixes. Well, he's back in these cars again and certainly putting down some good times. He's just gone to 4th in practice with a 205.5. I'll certainly be watching Dan closely as you see him in the top right corner there on our Zoom feed.
Give us a wave, Dan. Good job.
Yeah, there he is. There's the thumbs up. We'll take you through everybody on the Zoom wall here. Top left is Sebastian Flock. Top middle is Thomas Hins's pedals. Dan Yeaman, of course, top right. We've got Ben Christensen in race control there on the left middle. And then we've got Hayden Veld, Tyson Broad, Cameron Dance, Simon Mazomo, and Matthew Bowler, rounding them all out from left to right and through the rows. Thanks for the dab, Cam. Goodness gracious me. Frickin' Zoomers. Jesus. Anyway.
He was supposed to do that during bragging rights on Saturday night and never did it once, although it was 4 a.m. when he was live on that. But disappointed he never gave the RaceBot TV crew a dab. He's only done it for us. So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
Yeah, I think I'll reserve judgment on that myself and leave it up to you, the viewers. Less than 5 minutes to go in the practice session, and it looks like that is Yeaman there crossing the line and coming into Hell Corner on another lap. We'll see how things go here as we check out an onboard view of Mount Panorama in a Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car. It's amazing the pace that these cars carry across this circuit. Watch how late Yeaman's going to brake here into the Griffin's Bend. So much speed being taken through these corners and a big helping of oversteer on the exit as well. Definitely putting them off ever so slightly, but they flat out all the way up to the kink into the cutting, and it's just brilliant seeing the flow and the speed of these machines. It's a little bit different to how it looks in an Australian touring car, which we're going to be seeing on Sunday and on Saturday night as well, for that matter. But I mean, it's just a pleasure, isn't it?
It's such a cool track, and to see someone tackle it at high intensity is always great fun to watch, and seeing someone right on the limit or just past the limit but able to keep it under control is incredible to watch. I'm sure Dan will agree that this hasn't been the most beautiful lap to watch.
He's in the comms box with us still. He can hear everything we're saying, but we'll see how he goes here on the run out of Forest Elbow. Avoided the wall, which is good. It looked like a pretty clean exit, but Yeaman's delta on his end will tell him whether or not the lap is truly worth it. Yeah,
he's giving us a thumbs down.
Okay, 2:05.5 will not be improved on this time around for Daniel Yeaman, but coming through the chase, it's amazing. You take it flat out and then you're braking so deep into this corner. Oh dear, a little bit of an error there, and doing a bit of lawn mowing there for Dan. That's all right. He'll be able to recover from that, and I suppose hope that it doesn't happen for him in the race. Let's focus on another car in the session here. Matthew Bowler, recent addition to Visceral Esports. He's had a bit of a rough and tumble season, hasn't he, Matthew? Certainly has climbed up the ladder in terms of pace, in terms of competitiveness. The results haven't quite come for him in some cases.
Yeah, very inconsistent season. I'm sure he'll be the first to agree with that too, but the rounds that he's been really good at, he has been incredibly dominant at. So looking to see how he goes tonight, but I don't think it'll be as easy as we've seen him tackle some rounds where he's had it quite well in his favour. But I'm looking forward to seeing how Flock and Veld tackle the challenge of him and his pace, as well as Hinz and Dance as well. And Mazoma, we can't discount him as well. Interesting too, just before we get into qualifying, you said before about how they achieve their speed differently. They're still doing, I've got the top speed up on my timing screen. I can see that the top speed that every single car in this field has achieved is 277 kilometers an hour down Conrad Straight. So even though they don't have the top speed that we see the Australian touring cars have, they're only 10 k's off what they reach down Conrad Straight. So they are not far off.
Yeah, not far off at all, and it's just incredible to see how these drivers tackle this circuit all the way through. I'd say the point I would make is Faulkner just hits the wall there out of Reed and Sulman heading up to McPhillamy. That is not a good way to end off that session for him. The fact of the matter is these cars handle incredibly differently to an Australian touring car. The cars that we're going to be seeing racing on Saturday and Sunday, they're front engine rear wheel drive, 650 horsepower, going through a lock differential in the rear wheels, and they also weigh 1.5 tons. These cars, they're a little bit lighter. They are rear wheel drive still, but they've got the engine at the back slung over the rear axle, and they certainly handle quite differently as a result. The main thing that you've got to consider in a car like this is you don't want to slide too much out of a corner, because the rear will act like a bit of a pendulum and you won't be able to save it.
Yeah, exactly right. Just actually seen just off camera the exact thing happened with Matthew Bowler as he came out of the chase. He just looped it around and then continued to go into a bit of a spiral. 10 minutes on the clock, which pretty much leaves you with 3 flying laps in this session to get a lap in qualifying. So no huge chance to get out there and do multiple runs. You've got one shot to set this up. We know that the tyres do take a little bit to get up to temp, so you've probably got one out lap, 1 lap to warm the tyres up, and maybe 2 flying laps, or 1 flying lap, 1 lap to bring the tyres back down, and then go for 1 final lap. Interesting to see how drivers tackle this 10-minute session with the amount of time it takes to get around this circuit. Remembering as well, when the clock hits 0, qualifying ends at that instant. You do not get to finish a lap.
Yeah, exactly. So drivers will have to exit the pits now if they want as much time as possible to get a time on the board. You mention tyre cooldown. I don't know if that's going to come into effect potentially in this session.
Yeah, maybe.
I do, maybe indeed. But I do remember, because obviously I raced in the TCRs. I saw the track temp in that session. It was about 39 degrees Celsius. It's 29 degrees Celsius here in the flat six session. So still a reasonably warm track, but not as hot as it could be. And that might work to some drivers' benefit. They might not overheat the tyres as much. We'll have to wait and see, though, as Matthew Bowler works his way through Forest Elbow, and behind, I believe it's Faulkner up ahead of him. We'll see how they go on the way down here. Bowler will want to stay behind Faulkner potentially and get a good slipstream on his hot lap, but you see that he is lifting off a bit before the chase. He's trying to leave as much of a gap as possible, because Faulkner in practice, well, he wasn't too far off Bowler, but was 1.2 seconds slower. So Bowler ideally will want to leave some kind of gap here and get himself started here on this lap. So production feed on the left, zoom feed on the right. Let's see how Matthew Bowler tackles Mount Panorama. Across the start-finish line he comes, and into the first corner, Hell Corner. It's so hard to pick the line through here. You've got to get the exit just right, though. Use as much of the curve as you possibly can. Working his way up Mountain Straight and towards Griffin's Bend. Flick on over to the left-hand side of the circuit. A nice lazy pace. It's a very long straight. You don't have to worry too much about it until you get to this point. And brake just past the gap in the wall there into third gear. Try and take a little bit of the curb, but not too much. Use the crown on the road to carry the speed through Griffins, and then up towards the cutting. Where does Bowler get on the brakes? Just through the kink, down into second gear. Carries a lot of speed through this corner. It's uphill, and it's got a slight camber to it as well. You can really take a good amount of speed through the cutting. Almost flat out here, just a slight lift through Reed and Salmon Park, and then the run up to McPhillamy. It's going to be a slight lift for him here, maybe a tap of the brakes, and across the top of the mountain he comes. McPhillamy Park. This is such a difficult corner to get right with that big curve on the exit, and then switch over, try and brake and turn at the same time, negotiate the bumps and the sweepers down through the S's and the dipper. Get on the throttle nice and hard. It's flat out from here to the entry to Forest Elbow. Right hand kink, down into second gear again. Hug the inside as much as you can. Get on the throttle. Try not to hit the wall on the exit. That was successful there for Bowler, but I think he ran a little bit wide of the apex. He doesn't look too satisfied with this lap so far. We'll see how he goes then on the way down Conrod Straight. Not picking up any draft from Benjamin Faulkner up ahead. He's a little too far behind for the slipstream to come into effect, but the chase is so important to get right. Let's see how late he brakes. Watch for the brake lights, and it's just at the 150 marker or thereabouts. Clip the curb a little bit. Don't take too much. You don't want to unsettle the car through there. You can run all the way across the curb on the exit, though, and then down to Murray's Corner. You can brake a little later for this than you think. 100-meter marker, down into second. Way more difficult than it looks from the air. Looks like a simple right-angle corner, but it is very difficult, and that is a 2:04.7 there for Matthew Bowler. Oh, yeah, actually, it did count. I thought for a second it didn't count, but man, that is quite the statement there from Bowler, isn't it? Already a 2:04.7, and he was 0.3 faster in practice, so there's more pace there for him. Cameron Dance comes across the line, and that is a 2:05.5 for him. Doesn't look like it counted,
Didn't count
though.
For
No.
Dance, no.
Very unfortunate there. All right, Robbie Bradbury in the KFC Century Motorsports car. Let's see what he can do.
So Bradbury is he'll be doing double duty as well as quite a few drivers. That's Shane Best having a little loop at the final corner. Bradbury will be hoping to make the field for Sunday's V8SCOPS Bathurst 1000. Slots into 8th position there. The driver's still on flying laps. Interesting, just looking at Hayden Veld. His lap times are a little bit off at the moment. His sector times are a little down. He's lost a little bit of ground across the top of the mountain. Did a 13.0 there.
Okay, he might be building up for a hot lap.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, taking a few laps at maybe 75-80% to get some heat into the tyres, get them up to pressure, and then he'll really attack at the end of the session. He'll have time to get one more lap in after he finishes this one with 4 minutes and 18 seconds remaining in the session. But just talking briefly as we focus on Yeaman about the time set by Bowler. Hims 3/10 off. Yeaman already up into 3rd place, and he's only half a tenth behind Hinsey at the moment. So this is going to be pretty significant for the top 3.
Interesting too, we've got 18 drivers in this session and only 10 actually got a lap time in on that first attempt, which is surprising considering we're at Bathurst. Usually you don't see too many off-track penalties at Bathurst. Usually you can keep it between the lines pretty well, because the spots that you go outside the lines, you've got a big concrete wall there. So a little surprising. We don't often see lap times not count at Bathurst.
Yeah, unless, of course, you glance off the wall in the wrong place.
Yeah, true.
As Yeaman exits the final corner and sets another time here. Looks like that's a good improvement for him, 2:04.8, but Bowler improved as well, up to a 2:04.6. There's the first lap time from Cameron Dance, going to 4th, and it looks like he's decided to end the session there. No escape rule means that once he goes back to the pits, he won't come out again, but I think Dance is satisfied with that time for the time being. He'll try and race his way forward in the 10-lapper coming up. All right, Hayden Veld. We saw him doing some warm-up laps, and we'll see if this lap works out for him.
Oh, that's wide.
And that is very squirrely on the exit, and that is definitely an off-track. It looks like this is going to be Hayden's last possible chance at a hot lap here. You see him just slow down and gear himself up here for one final attack. Now, Veld was 2nd in practice, a 2:04.8, so there's a lot of potential here for Hayden to really set the timesheets alight on this lap.
Yep, he's got to do a bit of work though. He set a lot of purple sectors throughout the session, so his optimal time would put him around about, just trying to do quick maths in my head, his optimal lap time would actually be equal to Matthew Bowler. So
wow,
if he can put it together, he is he's looking pretty strong, looking pretty good.
All right, let's see how he goes then up towards the cutting. On the brakes as he passes the camera and immediately switches to another camera, and it looks like a pretty clean run through the cutting. Got to be careful of that bump there through the right-hander though. That can really unsettle you in a rear-wheel drive car without any traction control. There's no ABS in these cars either, so it is all about the driver, all about your inputs. Across the top of the mountain he comes, and it's a nice clean run through McPhillamy as well. Not much of a protestation from the rear end through there, but you've got to keep it nice and stable down through the S's. Let's see then. Oh, have a look at that, man. That was a big save there. Looks like Hayden is right back focusing though on the run down to the elbow.
That was close to the wall.
Oh,
Yeah, he's aborted
wide.
the lap. Yep,
Oh,
he's done.
no. Oh, that's a shame there for Hayden. No lap time on the board. He's going to have to settle for 13th thanks to that. Ah, what a shame. Well, that tends to happen when you don't get a proper banker in at Mount Panorama. Real shame. Either way, we'll see how much Hayden Veld can race forward when we get into the race session. 45 seconds remain in the session, and it looks like Taylor Oakes won't be able to make it to the end of this lap before the timer ticks down. Looks like he's aborted that lap anyway, so not going to be seeing any improvement from him. What about Shane Best, though? KRF, one of the long-standing teams here in the iRacing AusNZ community. And Best has been present at just about every round of SCOPS Support so far, races in the TCRs as well. Out of the final corner he comes, and that's a 2:09.872 for him, and that'll put him in 11th ahead of Anthony Green and Liam Hall. Not too bad there from the 122 of Shane Best. Well, 3-2-1, and the session is over. That means we can go through the grid for the first race of the flat sixes tonight here in the Logitech G V8SCOPS Supports here at Bathurst. What a grid this is going to be. Matthew Bowler will start on pole position alongside Daniel Yeaman. Thomas Hinds is going to start in 3rd place. The championship leader Cameron Dance will start alongside him. Daniel Cheney, and 3rd place in the standings Simon Mazzomo will be 5th and 6th. In 7th place, Benjamin Faulkner, starting alongside Chris Coxhead, with Robbie Bradbury and Mark Noble rounding out the top 10. Shane Best, of course, 11th, and Anthony Green will start in 12th.
From there, we go back to our drivers that didn't get lap times other than Liam Hall. He did get a lap time in. We'll start 13th. Then Hayden Veld, Sebastian Flock, Tyson Broad, Taylor Oates, Brett O'Keefe rounding out the top 18. And a few safety cars rounding out the back of the field. I remember I said that there was 18 cars and I still went and clicked that button.
Oh, well, that's how it goes sometimes. No trouble. 60-60, of course, race format. One more reminder before we go racing. 10 laps is coming up here for race 1. It will be 10 laps again for race 2. And the grid for race 2 will be set by the finishing order of this race. So drivers like Hayden Veld will certainly be hoping that they can race their way forward and get a better start for the second race. And there's no required pit stops, of course. So that means we're going to be racing from green flag to checkered with potentially a full course yellow or 2 thrown in there. Now let's see how the start goes for these drivers. There's been a bit of a trend we've seen through the season in the flat sixes. Some drivers have a bit of trouble getting these cars off the line. So we'll be monitoring everyone in this field and seeing if there's any stalls, any bogging down off the starting grid. But Bowler has a nice clear track ahead of him. Dan Yeaman as well for to an extent. We'll see who gets the better start out of the two of them. And of course, they got the top 2 in the championship starting right behind them. Hins and Dance there at the bottom of your screen. The revs rise and the green flag will fly momentarily. Flat sixes at Bathurst is go, and Hinsey immediately bogs down there. Unfortunate, that's going to give Cameron Dance a good run, and potentially Mazzomo as well with the Italian flag emblazoned across the top of his car. Around the outside of Hinsey goes, dips a wheel into the grass, but keeps it nice and stable, and it looks like a clean start from everyone behind. Matthew Bowler up front is already weaving to try and break the draft from Daniel Yeaman. That is some pretty interesting tactics that we are seeing as they come into Griffin's Bend for the first time. Hins has managed to hold off Mazzomo for the time being. Daniel Cheney behind as it's side by side there. Sebastian Flock running wide. That lets Tyson Broad go. Shane Best is dropping as well. Mark Noble too. A little bit of trouble there at the back half of the field. Sebastian Flock not having the best first lap there, but have a look at how much Daniel Yeaman is pressuring Matthew Bowler here already as they come up to the top of the mountain.
Clean start though, we've all got through the first half of the lap A-OK, which is always good to see at Mount Panorama, and Yeaman doing a great job of holding onto the back of Matthew Bowler. Cameron Dance, a good start. Interesting that Hins, the one driver in the top 5 that ran in the previous category, was the one driver that didn't get a good launch away, and we saw in between race 1 and race 2 of the TCRs that he was practicing his starts, so maybe he might have needed to do a little bit of extra practice of the starts in this category as well.
Yeah, indeed. Well, in either way, Hins still holding on to 4th place for the time being, and we know how good of a racer he is. He can certainly work his way forward. Matthew Bowler, my goodness, he is really getting the weave on down the straights, but it's not working. Yeaman is getting a huge slipstream on him, and he's starting to draft up to the back of them as they come into the chase on lap 1. Yeaman has a look to the inside, and you see how late he is on the brakes. Can he pull it up? Yes, he can. Good stuff there, and keeping Matthew Bowler incredibly honest on the way down to Murray's. Oh,
Shane Best off the circuit at the chase. He's let through Flock and Noble as well as Hall. O'Keefe made drop to the back here and let Taylor Oates through as well. Anthony Green's had a shocker across the top and lost a whole heap of ground, but relatively clean lap 1, which is great to see. We don't see it too often in this series where we get through lap 1 pretty much clean. Cox hit up the inside, takes advantage of the spot from Benjamin Faulkner, but lap 1 done and no big incidents to talk about.
Yeah, that's amazing, especially considering we're racing at the mountain. The top 2, though, continuing to pressure each other massively on the way into Griffin's there, and Mazzomo is already on the defensive here as Coxhead gets passed back by Faulkner. Apparently Faulkner picked up a good slipstream up Mountain Straight, and potentially Coxhead had a bit of an issue. Either way, Faulkner is back up into 7th place. We're starting to get big battle packs form there. And looks pretty close behind there between Bradbury and Veld. Have a look at Hayden. He was trying his best to make his way forward here. Already into the top 10. And after starting 14th, that's a pretty profitable first lap there for the number 53.
Yeah, and Bradbury's starting to cause a bit of a bottleneck with Broad and Flock in that group as well. Very, very cool little battle pack though. Great to see everyone defending their positions quite well. They're not letting up spots too well. I mean, they're letting up time, but nobody's being overtaken relatively easily. I mean, we saw a few overtakes on lap 1, but nobody's just opening the door and letting anyone through just because they've got a tiny little bit more pace. That's what we want to see. We want to see guys actually battle for these positions.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're getting here as there's a change for third there. Thomas Hins slipstreaming past Cameron Dance down Conrod Straight. Will Dance fight this back? Remember, these guys are fighting for the championship lead here. Bumper to bumper on the way into the chase, and Dance is going to dive up the inside of Thomas Hins here. A lock up from Hinsey on the outside, and oh, here we go. Dance having to keep a little bit of space there to the right to allow Hins to continue on. That's going to give him the inside for Murray's, though. Will he be able to get it done? This is a corner where if you get past on the inside, you don't stand much of a chance of defending it, but Hins is going to do it. They're going to stay side by side on the way up to turn 1 here. Will Dance dive it at Hell Corner? Hinsey turns in, but he has to open the steering a bit there to allow Dance through.
Not the easiest way to make a move through there, but he's able to hold on to the inside as Dance. Great momentum for Hins, and I don't think he's going to be able to defend this spot just based on the nature of this circuit. But they're making it a lot more difficult than you would expect. You would normally see the car on the outside, they're back out of it to make sure that there isn't any contact made, but they went a little bit more side by side than you may normally expect. Made it work though. A lot of respect between those two. They have raced each other quite a lot over the years, have Hins and Dance.
Yeah, they have, and this is what happens when two sim racing veterans go head to head for a podium spot. Oh goodness!
Did Mizomo hit the wall then?
Might have. I'm going to go back and check. I'll see if there was a little bit of a glance coming up through Reed and Sulman. Oh, I think it was just borderline. Have a look at this here, Jay, as he comes up through the left-hander. We'll get the view here, and it looks like he might have only just avoided it. Oh. Yeah, it was a matter of millimeters. Probably took the wing mirror off. Oh, we're getting
a
safety
safety car.
Yeah. Oh dear. Is that Brett O'Keefe?
Yep. And we got Robbie
Bradbury as well. Safety car has been called by race control. The field is going to compress.
That'll be because Brett O'Keefe is literally in the wall. And that is at Sulman Park.
Wow, goodness. Well, we'll see what happened to him here. Oh, just got a spin on him. Wow. Okay.
Felt a little nauseous with that one.
Yeah, that would have been a good amount of G's put through that car as a result of that.
You're meaning G-forces, not all G's?
Well, both, I suppose. Anyway, let's have a look at the onboard, and the rear just gets loose on him there through the right-hander. That's a huge shame there. And that is going to put him out of the running for the time being. No fast repairs in V8SCOPS or V8SCOPS supports. So as we now move down to safety car speed, the safety car is indeed out and has collected our leaders. And looks like the field is going to compress pretty quickly here.
We heard from the guys in race control earlier too, sorry to cut you off there, that the safety cars will be nice and short tonight. So we should go racing again next lap. So they're trying to make sure that the safety car periods are as short as possible to mean that we can get the most racing we can despite seeing safety cars out on track.
Yeah, indeed. I found that out the hard way in race 1 of the TCRs.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
You missed that discussion before we started.
Yeah, indeed. Unfortunate for me, I suppose. I got involved in that crash up into the S's on lap 1, and I got something like 2 minutes and 20 seconds or 2 minutes and 40 seconds of optional repairs. I thought, oh, okay, might be able to get out and make my way to the back of the queue, but then they went safety car in this lap, and I went, oh, it's just going to be hot lapping from
You still
here on
gained a
out.
couple of spots, though. You still got ahead of a few other guys that ended up in issues, and that's the positive for some of these guys that have had to come into the lane right now. They can still come back because if there's been one incident, there's bound to be more. Now, here's your guess for the night. Who's driving this safety car?
Christensen?
No, Ben Christensen is not. It is Aaron Gilbert driving the safety car at the moment.
Oh,
so,
all right.
We're going through the full field of potential safety car drivers throughout the series. So we had Ben Christensen out there earlier. Who else have we had throughout the season? Henry King's been out there a few times.
All right.
Nick Parker, of course.
Yes.
Simon
yes,
Black
can't
will
forget
probably
old
be
Nick.
out there on Sunday in the main event.
Indeed, it's going to be a huge undertaking from Race Control putting together this event on Sunday.
There's why Ben's not in the safety car.
Okay, fair enough. He's off, probably grabbing a coffee or something like that. Yeah, I mean, it is a huge undertaking putting together a series of events like this. You know, we've already had a few dramas with getting pre-qualifying times for the V8SCOPS Bathurst 1000 because of iRacing going down for maintenance during one of the pre-qualifying sessions. So I certainly don't envy the job of race control and race administration there.
It's been fun trying to get a spreadsheet to work over the last 24 hours with pre-qualifying times, but we've got there, and we've opened up the rules a little bit to mean that drivers can do even more laps tonight. So there's some drivers are going to get a bonus, but looks like the majority of people have been pretty happy with how that's played out. Safety car's about to pull away. But what it will mean, I think we've got 62 teams potentially trying to hit the grid. We've had 69 teams register or 70 teams register. It looks like we'll have 62 teams trying to get into that 50-car field for tomorrow's qualifying and Sunday's race.
Wow, that is huge. That is fantastic to see. Well, either way, we're going to get back to racing action here as the safety car's pulled away. Now the field is under the control of Matthew Bowler, and there's been a bit of a development in the InSim text chat. Apparently, Hayden Veld is racing without any sound. Certainly don't envy him there. Amazing that he's been able to race as well as he has been without any sound coming through his headphone speakers. But we'll see what happens for the rest of the drivers here as the safety car is now in the lane and Matthew Bowler is officially controlling the race start here. Number 12 will lead them away. Question is, when does he decide to go? Usually drivers will go at the apex of Murray's Corner or slightly before. You can see that Dance, Hins and Yeaman are really pressuring him here, but Hinsey could afford to get a bit closer to Yeaman there. We'll have to wait and see how things go here on the restart. Bowler goes just after the apex of Murray's Corner. The green flag flies. We're back to racing to start lap 5, and immediately the weave again. Goodness gracious. I mean, I don't think there's much point to that if you're trying to break the draft because it's a short straight.
I think that's just heating the tyres.
Yeah, but I was just about to say maybe he's trying to get heat into the tyres.
Oh,
But goodness, Jesus Christ almighty, Hins. What a save there.
Oh, that is crazy.
Well, Simon Mazzomo has just made his way past both Cam Dance and Thomas Hins, and he's immediately going defensive into the Griffin's Bend. A little bit of a lock-up on the way in, though. Slight contact, potentially. Hins from behind. But we get things started. They're side-by-side for the lead, meanwhile. God, Yeaman trying to go for it on Matthew Bowler. He's managed to just stay behind for the time being, but Mazzomo here has certainly got his work cut out for him. Just made his way past his championship rivals. That's the top 3 in the championship right there, although not in exact order. But, oh goodness, they're all over the curbs there at the top of the mountain. What will they be able to do on the way down to the S's? Probably not much. It's not exactly a passing zone, but you can see that Mazzomo is really starting to gap Hins and Dance here at the moment. I think they're a bit too involved with each other at the moment.
Yeah, I think Hins is probably looking in the mirror a little bit more than he's looking ahead. Oh, something's happened to Sebastian Flock. He's facing the wrong way through the S's, and he'll get that flick back around, but not an ideal situation for him. What has happened?
Doesn't seem like he's gotten any damage. Oh, wow.
Just came in too hot, I think.
Yeah, okay, a little tap to the wall, but that's not going to harm him too much. Such a hard braking zone to do. Either way, battle at the front, defensive from Matthew Bowler as Yeaman takes the wider line into the chase. Simon Mazzomo now gets past around the outside of the chase by Thomas Hins. And over the curb he goes. Looks like Dance might get him as well on the way down to Murray's. We'll have to see how hard will Simon Mazzomo fight this. No, he's going to fall into line in the braking zone. So he was briefly in third, but that tells me one thing about Mazzomo's pace. He's got the potential for a podium here.
Yeah, I think he's just playing it smart. He knows that the two ahead of him at the moment are being very, very aggressive. They're worried about each other. And I think Mazzomo could steal a little sneaky spot here with those two fighting as aggressively as they are. In the background, that Shane Best has just gone straight ahead of turn 1. We'll pull it up. Interesting too that we saw Bowler and Yeaman nose to tail coming into the chase. As they crossed the line, they were 7 tenths apart. So Not quite the best exit of the chase for Dan Yeaman. Yeah, did struggle a little bit there as we're on the halfway point as well. 5 to go. These races are going to fly by. I mean, only 10-lap races. They do not take long to go.
Yeah, certainly. It's a real hard slog, no matter what the race length on Mount Panorama. I've got to say that, you know, even something like a 5-lap race is an ordeal around here, just with how much you've got to concentrate around this circuit. Every single turn can throw you off, and it's all about flow. It's all about just taking as much as you can without putting yourself in the wall. Meanwhile, looking on board with Tyson Broad towards the midfield. He's currently in 8th and looking at 7th and 6th ahead. Benjamin Faulkner and Daniel Cheney. There was a little bit of a change for position there as they came down into the S's, and Tyson is massively concentrating on the way down Conrod Straight there. Doesn't look like he got the best of exits, and he might fall under a bit of pressure here from Hayden Veld.
I think at the same breath, he's also chatting with Veld just to help him through and make sure he understands what's going on in the race, especially if there's any communication that is coming from race control. Brett O'Keefe as well, we saw him have that issue at the start. He's decided to retire his car as Faulkner goes off the circuit. We'll continue on, but that's a spot for both, for Broad, Veld, and also Coxhead, and also Liam Hall's going to get through as well.
That's Liam Hall into the top 10 for a couple of seconds before Faulkner takes it back. Looked like Hall just overshot his way into Murray's a little bit. He might fall down here with Mark Noble and Taylor Oakes up behind him. Fastest lap was set by Thomas Hinz that time by 2:04.6. So there's potential for him to start catching up to Yeaman and Bowler, who have started to put some distance between each other. But we'll keep our eyes on this fight here. Have a look at that. Thomas Hinz and Cameron Dance still keeping each other as honest as they ever have over the many years they've been racing each other.
Well, it's good to watch these two fight because they do race hard, but race very, very respectfully when they are out there together. It's always great to watch. So a good fight brewing between these two.
Really
see what happens.
His footwork there.
Yeah, he's pushing hard.
Yep, see a little tap of the brakes on the way into McPhillamy, and just feathering the throttle on the way out. And have a look at the footwork down here into the S's. It's auto blip on the 911, so you just got to hit the brakes, but you saw how much he was modulating his way down the hill there as Tance has a bit of trouble keeping the rear end in check.
Interesting how much throttle is actually used as he's trying to maintain stability too through the corner. So going through the dip where he actually gets on the throttle, just gives it a little stab to stabilize the car and change the balance. So I'm surprised at how much they're doing. I'm not surprised that he's doing it, but I'm surprised how aggressive he was on the throttle. Probably giving it 50-60% throttle as opposed to a tiny little burst of throttle. Always cool to watch that camera. Always cool to see that view because it shows how bad I am driving out on track.
Yeah, I think anyone can learn something from watching these guys do their thing at the top of fields like this. Well, we'll see what Cameron Dance can do on this lap. Just caught the grass on the exit of Murray's there. Loses a bit of momentum down the start-finish straight. 3 laps to go here in race 1, and it looks like number 63, Mark Noble, is slow. There was a problem for him in the chase. We check it out on the Virtual Racing School replay now. Did he overshoot? Yes, he did. I think maybe a little lock-up on the way through as well, and a bit of lawn mowing for good measure.
And we can all safely say that we have all done that at some point. So no harm in doing that one because we have all done it and we'll all do it again. Very, very easy thing to do at Bathurst, run deep into the chase because you're just trying to find that extra 1 or 2 kilometers an hour at the apex, but 1 or 2 kilometers an hour just is a little bit too much braking performance needed in the car.
Yeah, indeed. I found that out the hard way an uncountable number of times. Let's see then how these guys go. This top 4 battle is actually a proper fight here. Hinzy has managed to get a little gap on Cameron Dance, and starting to catch up again to Dan Yeaman, though Cameron Dance was the fastest car on track that time by him. Oh, God, he was so close to the wall there. It's amazing how much these guys can push, and he's really taking a lot out of the exit of the dipper, as I've seen a couple of times.
Yeah, I think he may have hit the wall this time. He may have clipped the wall on the right-hand side as they turn back right after the dipper. Yeah, up on 2 wheels there for Hins too. Watch here.
Oh. It was close at the very least.
Definitely use the curb that nobody ever touches.
Unless you're in a TCR, of course.
Yeah, well, you need that to turn the car.
Yeah. Need to straight line the exit of the corners as much as possible. Cameron Dance straight lines his way into the chase and goes across the grass. That's unfortunate there. He has lost touch with the battle for the top 3. We'll see if Mizomo can take advantage of this. Mizomo had fallen off the back of the top 4, was quite a ways behind, but now he is within 0.6 of a second of Cameron Dance. He will get a slipstream on the way down the straight, as that is Chris Coxhead having an issue with the chase himself. Seems like the chase is a pretty popular place to have issues in these cars.
It's one that we hadn't seen so far for the night, though. Just a little bit of imbalance at the exit of the corner, then pushes wide. I don't know if he would have lost it without the grass there or not. It's hard to tell, but he has lost a couple of positions because he was battling, remember, with Benjamin Faulkner. He's now dropped back to 13th position.
Yeah, well, that is a big shame there for Chris Coxhead, as Hayden Veld makes his way past Tyson Broad there, up into 6th now for the number 53, who is driving again without sound here. Let's see if Broad can try and pressure him towards the end here. We only have 2 laps to go. It's technically 1.5 for our leaders, as Matthew Bowler's now just making his way into the S's.
You can tell Dan Yeaman's got a bit serious out on track. He's taken the jumper off, running in the t-shirt. I've just made him laugh as well, so good job, Dan. But the pressure's starting to build up. Also just seen Mizomo watching, because I've got the zoom up on one screen as well. I just saw Mizomo have a huge moment through the dipper. Watch his wheel work here.
All right, riding on board with Mizomo, coming through the dipper. Dance ahead, turns in, dip, and whoa, yeah. Goodness, that would have been a little bit of a heart and mouth, or a pucker moment, as some people like to say. Either way, it looks like Mizomo is losing touch with Dance again, and now he's going to have to start facing off against Hayden Veld. Got to say, I don't mind how those white rims look with that livery.
White rims in these cars do look very, very smart. So I've always been a big fan of white rims. Always been a fan of coloured rims. I don't think they always have to be silver, chrome, or black. Last lap. See if we see any moves here. I think Broad's still a chance to steal both of these spots. I know that Mizomo probably isn't able to keep the pace going. Interesting that Hins has closed the gap down at the front as well. He's now got it within a second to Dan Yeaman. In the background, that's Ben Faulkner having a moment through turn 1. He'll get it going again, but have a look at the gap that Hins has got now. He's under a second back to Yeaman. He's closing that gap down very, very quickly. It was about 1.5 when he and Dance were battling together only a lap ago.
Yeah, obviously the absence of Dance in the mirrors is working out well for Thomas Hins. We'll see what he can do to catch up over the last 4 and a bit Ks of this racetrack. 6.2 Ks, of course, the full lap distance. 6.213 if you want to be exact. Broad, Yeaman, and Hins. There's your top 3, and they're all taking as much out of this track as they possibly can. As oh goodness,
hang on to it, Dan.
Easy. Yeah, hang on to it, mate. That was almost a big moment there for him, and oh dear, this is going to be an issue. We'll see if he can get this going again. He's obviously not too bothered by it as we make our way down to
He's
Forest
more
Hill
bothered by us than the mistake, I think.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, going down to the interview waiting room is an option, Dan. Just saying, if you're a little annoyed by us. But either way, we'll see what they can do on the way into the chase. Hinsey in the slipstream. Yeaman's lost touch with Bowler, and oh dear.
Tyson Broad's just lost a heap of time, so not
he's
sure what
back
happened
into
there.
8th with damage. But meanwhile, Yeaman defensive versus Hins. Thomas is going to try and pressure him, but Yeaman manages to hold him off. There's one more braking zone for these guys and one more braking zone for Matthew Bowler with an absolutely dominant performance here in race 1. Looks like that second place battle is going to work out in favour of Daniel Yeaman, but the number 12 takes victory here. And Cameron Dance is going to hold on to 4th, Mazomo 5th, and it looks like Veld going to go up to a very good 6th place. That's not bad for starting 14th and running without sound.
Very, very good effort. Will Flock be able to steal a spot right at the end here over Robbie Bradbury? Doesn't look like it. Remember, he was facing the wrong way early on, but a good recovery back to 14th position from a rear of grid start. That was a pretty cool action-packed race for the first one. We've got a minute break in between and we're going to do it all again, but if we see half as much action in the next one, we're going to have another fun race.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy with how that went, and we'll go through the results now. Matthew Bowler by 1.8 seconds from Daniel Yeaman. Thomas Hinds completes the podium. Cameron Dance is going to finish in 4th with Simon Mazomo rounding out the top 5. Veld 6th. Daniel Cheney, meanwhile, with a very nice run indeed. 7th place for him. Tyson Broad, well, he could have been in the top 6, but for that mistake on the final lap, he'll have to settle for 8th. Liam Hall gets into the top 10, as does Taylor Oakes.
Yeah, we've got Faulkner and Coxhead rounding out the top 12, with Robbie Bradbury just beating home Sebastian Flock. Mark Noble in 15th position. Shane Best, Anthony Green, and then Brett O'Keefe, we saw have those issues. He has retired the car and will not race in this next one. See if we can pick up a replay in this warm-up phase, just so, well, we got 1 minute between the races, and see if we can pick up what happened to Tyson Broad, because as you said, he was looking pretty safe for a good result, but it all ended very, very quickly for him, and this is why.
Okay, at Forest Elbow, turns in all right, but oh no, the car just broke free right at the apex, just as the track started leveling out a little in the middle of the corner. Oh, that's such a shame.
Heartbreaking for him, because he only lost 1 spot in the end, which I guess is the positive to take out of it. But it went from being a good result to he'll be feeling disappointed with where he finished, even though he lost 1 spot. So, unfortunate. He got the car home in the end, but yeah, that 1 spot that he's lost is going to be devastating for him. Not that it's a position that he just couldn't finish off at what was looking like a decent race for him.
Yeah, well, hopefully he'll have a chance at redemption in the second race, which is about to go live. I guess there's not much point in going through the grid for this one, Jay, because it's basically the finishing results from race 1. Bowler's on pole again. Yeaman in 2nd again. Hinds in 3rd again. In fact, the top 4 are exactly as they were in qualifying, let alone race 1.
Yeah. No changes to that. Interesting too, myself and Dan were talking in between race 1 and race 2 last time about drivers doing a little bit of practice with their starts. Nobody took the opportunity in that 1 minute break to take a little bit of start practice. So I'm surprised by that. I would have thought a couple of drivers that didn't get good starts may have had a little attempt at doing one. We're only 15 seconds away, from getting this race underway. Everyone is feeling the pressure now. 10 laps to finish off the night.
Indeed. I think no one went out to practice starts because they were all so tired from that first race.
Stressed.
Yeah, absolutely stressed. Well, let's go then. Timer hits 0, 3, 2, 1. The revs rise and the green flag will fly now. And we are away. Whoa, again, it's another poor start from Thomas Hinds, and there was a big check up there in the midfield. Yeah, Taylor Oakes, and once again, it's a repeat of race 1. Mazomo trying around the outside of Hinds in turn 1, but Yeaman this time is alongside Matthew Bowler and has the inside for Griffins. The inside is where you want to be for turn 2 at Bathurst, because there's a crown in the road and a lot of banking on the inside that you can use to your advantage. So what's going to happen down here between our leaders? Bowler is going to have to yield there, and Yeaman into the lead at Mount Panorama. Cameron Dance and Thomas Hinds trading positions again. Hayden Veld has already gained 1 spot. He passed Mazomo on the way into Griffins, I believe, and crucially, his sound is working now, so that might give him a few extra tenths.
Yeah, potentially we'll see a bit of improvement now that he's got some sound. Don't realise how much you use audio as your cue for everything in sim racing especially when you don't feel the G-force. And also seeing as well, penalty is coming for a jump start for Sebastian Flock. That's painful for him. His bad night has just got even worse.
That's a shame there for Seb. Recent signing to Evolution Racing Team, and we know how skilled of a driver he can be, but just hasn't gone his way here tonight. He'll be repping those ERT colours well on Sunday, though, I would believe. As we make our way out of Forest Elba up the front of the field, the top 5 are still incredibly compressed. Make that the top 7, as now into the slipstream we go. And interesting to note that Yeaman is not weaving down the straights like Bowler was. I think he's not trying to play any of those mind games. We'll see what Bowler does on the way into the chase. Saw a little bit of room open on the outside, and he's deep on brakes, but keeps it nice and stable. Veld on the back of Hins. Flock in 9th at the moment, but he is going to have to take to the pits here, as he's behind Benjamin Faulkner. Looks like he's actually going to stay out on track for the time being, despite that jump start. But we'll wait and see how that goes for him. Mazomo, meanwhile, 1 position down at the end of lap 1 and looking to defend against Tyson Broad. And I should mention, Jay, these guys are very familiar with each other as well. We broadcast the Aussie Online Gaming Porsche Cup here on SimSpeed TV every other Tuesday night, and Broad and Mazomo are neck and neck for the Pro-Am Class Championship lead, so they're very familiar with each other. Side by side still between Faulkner and Flock.
And Flock goes through. He actually took what I was about to say straight out of my mouth. I was about to say that they're no strangers to each other. No, it's all good. Good minds think alike. So we've seen plenty of battles between Broad and Mazomo. Lots of respect between those two as well. But they do battle hard out on track to Mazomo and Broad. So it'll be great to watch them. Flock leading this train. Got himself up into 8th. But as we said, he will have to come back into the pits. Faulkner, Cheney, Coxhead and Hall also in this group, as well as Taylor Oakes, who had that horrible launch off the line. Dropped 3 spots at the very start of the race, but he's still going in the right direction. We've made it through further than what we saw for that first lap. Made it through 2 and onto our second lap before we've had any incident. So fingers crossed we can stay clean for the rest of this one.
Yeah, I certainly
I'll probably
hope
put
so
the commentator's
too.
curse on that. Yeah, haven't I?
Yeah, well, let's touch some wood and make sure that that doesn't happen. Yeaman in the lead with Bowler chasing. Dance, Hins and Veld all still in the top 5 and all within touch. But it looks like Hins and Dance are a little bit closer to the leaders than Veld is, so Hayden's going to have to pull out some stops here to try and get himself in with a shot for this top 3 battle, even top 2 battle that we are seeing here.
Yeaman's doing a good job of just getting the power down at the right point at corner exit, isn't he? Just at the apex to get the power down to make sure that there isn't any wheel spin, but also is enough drive to make sure that he maintains the momentum and holds the driver behind of Bowler in that position. Saw 2 in the background there. Ben Faulkner had another little moment there at turn 1, but was able to hold on. This is getting a bit aggressive.
Yeah, just a little bit. Bowler thought that there was a little bit of space there to the inside of Griffin's, but Yeaman, of course, keeping his line there and saying, no, you will not have the position. And same into the cutting as well. But a bit of a straighter exit there for Bowler. This is going to be interesting. Bumper to bumper across the top of the mountain. Certainly not a position any driver would want to be in if they're not too confident in their ability, though these guys certainly are.
We've got 5 cars all together, nose to tail in this group as well. They've broken away from the rest of the field. Flock did come into the pits on that lap as well to serve that black flag penalty. He'll be hoping that the safety car comes out to bring him back into contention. This front 5, they are close. Smallest mistake from any of these guys could end all 5 of their races.
Yeah, that is 100% the truth. You race at a track like Mount Panorama, your focus has to be 100% all the time. You can afford to take a little bit on Conrod, but oh dear, looks like Robbie Bradbury having some issues there. It looks like the left rear potentially is not good. In fact, the front doesn't look too good either, does it?
The whole car didn't look too crash hot there. We'll get a replay of that in just a second. We'll see if anyone makes a move into the chase.
Oh.
All thinking about it.
Yep. Oh, Yeaman. Oh, they make contact and gets sent off the track a little bit, does Matthew Bowler. But I think Dan, being the car ahead, probably had the right to that. That's given Cameron Dance second place in the midst of all of that. And this top 3 battle has just been thrown wide open, as has the battle for 4th and 5th with Hinz and Veld now together. We'll get another view of that, and we'll get a view of what happened to Bradbury first, just on the exit of McPhillamy. Goodness me.
Ooh.
Bouncing off both walls. That is both ends of the car. Heavily damaged there for the KFC machine. It looks like he might have to come back to the pits for repairs potentially. We'll have to flick back to the top 3 though. Look at this, because Bowler now trying to get second back from Dance up the inside into Griffins, and Dance on the outside is going to have to yield. There is no grip out there. It's a bit off camber on the outside, and no rubber laid down there. But of course, Dance knows he is in the prime position to try and take a victory here if Yeaman and Bowler fight too much.
The positive to take away at this point too is every driver in his championship fight is behind him at this stage. So even if he doesn't steal the win, stealing a third with Hinz and Mazzomo behind him is all he needs to do at this point. So taking those wins in that aspect is much more important, as he's using all of the track plus some, being very aggressive at the moment.
Indeed he is. It's resulted in him losing touch with the top 2 again, and it's brought Hinz and Veld right back into it. All these drivers looking at a podium, and this could go either way. Let's have another look at that then for Cameron Dance.
Actually looking at Tyson Broad.
Oh yeah, okay. Something's gone wrong for Tyson, has it?
Yeah, he's lost a whole heap of ground, and that's wall.
Yep, and he's still dropping again. Something's
He's actually
gone wrong
stopped.
for him. I think. Yeah, we got to stay on the replay here. Oh, that's why. Oh man. Okay. Well, evidently Broad not too happy with how things have gone there. And I'm looking at the live pictures, Jay. It looks like we'll have to go back to live pictures very quickly, because it's side by side for the lead, and trying around the outside of Murray's is Matthew Bowler. Giving him a good amount of room on the outside is Dan Yeaman, but a straighter exit for Bowler. He gets back into the race lead across the line, but Yeaman will have the inside for turn 1. Bit of a straighter line into the corner. Bowler having to take the outside line, catches the grass, but saves it. And now, have a look at this. The top 5 are all together. That's checked up Dance and Hinz, and it's going to allow Veld through potentially to try and get into the top 3. He's just passed Dance for 3rd. Will he be able to hold it round the outside of Griffin's Bend? Dance is going to fire it up the inside, and there we go. There's contact. Veld gets sent into the wall.
Always going to happen with that side-by-side going on, as that was all going on as well.
Lord.
Something has happened to Simon Mazzomo. Veld is still trying to recover. And it's still on. They're still going side-by-side.
Look at this fight. This is amazing. Yeaman keeps the lead, but man, Matthew Bowler is getting a lot more confident with his moves here. Side by side through the cutting all the way up to Silman Park. How do you like that?
I mean, I like watching it, but I wouldn't like to be doing it in the driver's seat in either car. It's very, very nerve-wracking to watch, but very, very cool to watch at the same time. What I was wanting to flick to was Mazzomo has potentially had contact with someone at the final corner, and then also looped it at turn 1. We'll be able to pick it up now that the battles have settled a little, but something big has happened down here with Mazzomo, and I'm trying to see what's going on. Or has he done this one by himself? Because he may have done 2 separate incidents all on his lonesome. I think he has.
Grass on the entry. Bowler, meanwhile, and Yeaman, they're side by side again. Bowler into the chase. On the outside, Yeaman's going to try and force the issue here up the inside, and they avoid making contact, and there goes Matthew Bowler back into the race lead. That was a great move. Picked up the slipstream on Yeaman down Conrod Straight and pulled it off. Yeaman, no! Oh, dear! Okay, caught the grass a little bit, and that spun Bowler around. Oh, dear. Well, Cameron Dance is laughing. He is in the lead of the race now.
He also put his hand on his forehead to say, oh no, that's bad at the same time. So he's seeing the funny side of it, but also seeing the disastrous side of it. Dan, unfortunately, that's disappointing for you. We know you'll be heartbroken. It's Bowler is now going to have the huge recovery battle to try and bring his way back through the field. He's now back in 10th. So a lot of work to do. Yeaman only back to 3rd, so he's come out of it A-OK in some aspects. Hayden Veld now trying to make moves back through the field as well. Hey, Reese, we're only halfway through. Take a breath now.
Jesus, all right. Okay, I'm good. Hayden Veld makes his way past and back up into 7th spot. If he can pass Daniel Cheney, he will be level with his starting position. Oh no! It's continued to go wrong for Simon Mazzomo. He has had an absolutely torrid race since the start of lap 4, and it looks like he might have given this one up potentially. We'll see
his
what
car's
happens to him.
broken.
Yeah, his car's broken. That was down Conrod Straight. It looks like he must have had a massive issue. He was already going slow. What on earth has happened there for Mazzomo?
I think he's had a moment up at... yeah, here we go.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
His car was broken, so I think we're going to have a safety car here.
Yeah, tow request from Simon Mazzomo. He's been instructed to hold position. Okay, so drivers are... Oh, safety car. Safety car, safety car, safety car has been called as a result of what happened to Mazzomo here down at the elbow and into Conrod. Actually, it started at the dipper. My goodness.
His car was already broken from that incident. We saw him around a couple of times, but I'm thinking someone's come through here and made contact with him.
Well, we'll stay on the replay here. He's struggling to try and get it going, and, well...
Shane Best going through.
There.
Robbie Bradbury will come through in a second. Flock goes through. For Bradbury here in a second. Because the rear of his car was destroyed, which is why that car looped around.
Okay. Bradbury goes through. No problem there. Mazzomo will be looking at his F3 black box at this point, trying his best to find a gap, and he's trying to get it back into forward gear, but oh man, it is so difficult to get the car spun around at that location of the track. Oh, there we go. This is what's going to happen. Yep.
That's Mark Noble, unfortunately, making contact straight into his wheel. That's enough to make the car not drive straight. And you can see when we go to this shot here, there's no steering. It's just so light, he can't steer the car. And you watch when he comes down the hill, he'll flick it into 4th gear. And just stick it in 2nd just to try and bring it down the hill. You can see just how light the car is. There's no movement in the wheel. And look, you can't move the wheel. You just can't turn it.
Yeah. And that turns into a ricochet off the concrete barriers, and Mazzomo is stopped by the side of the track down Conrod Straight. Well, I presume that now that the field is by him, they will say that he can tow back to pits and will be able to get a restart going with 3 laps to go here. I tell you what, this has helped Matthew Bowler out a little bit. Yes, he's still back in 10th, but the gap towards the front of the field has been completely eliminated. Dan Yeaman also, this has worked out well for him. He managed to stay in 3rd after that incident.
Will race control come down on him, though, for what happened with that incident with Bowler?
Yeah, will they? Will they indeed? Either way, he's still in 3rd on track at the moment, which certainly could have gone worse so far.
Hearing that that incident from Mazzomo was a steering wheel failure, which does make a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah.
Because the way that the steering wheel was moving in his car just did not look normal. And you can also see race control have handed through a penalty for Daniel Yeaman for that contact with Matthew Bowler, just due to that little mistake. No intent there at all. It was just right-hand tyres in the grass. You can't really steer the car, unfortunately, when they're doing that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh well, that's how it goes sometimes in sim racing. You know, in real life, you have bearings fail, steering linkages, that sort of stuff. Sometimes in sim racing, your force feedback steering wheel can just decide, no, I don't want to work anymore, and you can't do anything about it in the moment.
Safety car will pull away in just a moment, and we will have 3 laps. You can see Dance trying to get as much heat into the tyres while he can. As soon as the safety car pulls away, there is no weaving permitted. Just received confirmation the safety car's pulling away, because you can tell the moment that they gave that instruction that he's straightened up into line. Away goes the safety car. Aaron Gilbert out there. I can confirm that Ben Christensen has resumed his seat in race control. And he was the one that gave out the black flag to Dan Yeaman. So he's well and truly back in his seat now, flicking out the penalties.
Indeed he is. I couldn't help but notice that Dance's Orbit Motorsport teammate Daniel Cheney was also weaving a little as well. Perhaps the fellow Orbit cars in the field will try their best to harass the top 5 here. Benjamin Faulkner has somehow found his way into 5th. How have we not mentioned that yet? That is simply incredible. And Chris Coxhead up into 4th. This is a very mixed up field now at the moment.
That'll change in a second too.
It will indeed. We shall see how things go on the way into Murray's Corner. Cameron Dance controls the field. The championship leader is leading the race. When does he decide to go is the big question. No one going for the pits this time to take any penalties or whatnot, but Dance pulls away and Hinz is right with him as they come across the line to begin the 8th lap of this race, and already Hinz trying his best to harass the back of the number 6 Kiwi car. And oh, there we go, Bowler wasting no time trying to make up places there into 9th, passing Taylor Oakes and trying to line up Liam Hall as well.
Yep, trying to make as many positions as he can while the field is compressed. Best place to make opportunities is there, or is now, I should say, so he might as well try and make as many as he can. Downfall is that Hall's lost a whole heap of ground to Hayden Veld ahead, but Bowler through. He'll take 8th position away. The front of the field, though, it's no gap at all, basically, between Dance and Hinz. It is as they were when the green flag flew.
That it is. And, wow, what a fight it's going to be between these two. As we've mentioned already tonight, okay, Hayden Veld losing a position there to Daniel Cheney. Looked like a bit of a problem going up the mountain. Oh, bumper to bumper. And here comes Matthew Bowler up behind them. 6th, 7th and 8th all in a line up through to McPhillamy. A little bit of a later turn in there for Cheney. What will Veld do here down the mountain? Bowler knows that he can't quite make any moves in this section of the track. They're going to have to take their time.
Be careful because, as we've seen, one minor error can lead to big consequences. Will we make it through to the end clean? Will we make it through unscathed? We know that Yeaman has to come into the pits to serve that black flag before the end of the race, as Dance weaves his way down Conrod Straight to try and defend from Thomas Hinz, who is coming quick, side by side into the kink. Hinz is through.
Or is he? Oh, caught the curb, got majorly unsettled, and Dance is going to keep the lead. But for how long is the question. We'll see if Daniel Yeaman pulls into the pits this time. No, he's going to stay out on track. You have 3 laps to serve a penalty once it's assigned. Dance defensive again into Murray's. Hinz goes wide. That offers half a chance for Daniel Yeaman to try and get second on track before he comes in to serve his penalty. I'm amazed that Chris Coxhead and Benjamin Faulkner have managed to hold on to the back of these guys in the midst of everything that's happening. I think they've been assisted by Bowler being held up a little by Cheney and Veld. Flock and Oakes. Meanwhile, Bradbury passing Anthony Green. That is for 12th place on the way into turn 1. And once again, Hinz and Dance side by side, but this time Dance with the inside line, and Hinzy tucks in because you don't want to be stuck on the outside into Griffins.
Sebastian Flock was loving when he saw that safety car being called. Remember, it was 40-odd seconds back after serving a black flag for a jump start, so he's got himself back into a top 10. Bowler still making moves. Daniel Cheney has just lost 2 spots through Griffins.
Oh, okay. This is going to be interesting.
Sorry.
Yeah. Cheney was ahead of Bowler and Veld on the way in here. So what happened? Bowler passed him and looked like Veld just followed him through.
Yeah, just decided to go wide and let him through. I mean, that's probably the first time all night that we've seen someone let someone through, just sporting and casually saying, off you go, buddy. It's been very, very aggressive and hard fought out there all night in this series. So surprised to see that. That's Yeaman in the wall, though. That's very, very heavy contact.
Yeah, very heavy indeed, but we've seen already tonight that small taps to the wall don't necessarily ruin your race, but that has killed his run down Conrod Straight. He is still in the slipstream of Thomas Hinz. We'll have to wait and see how that works out for him later on. And remember, he does still have that penalty to serve. Coming up to 1 lap to go. White flag incoming in the flat sixes. And there goes Yeaman into the pits to serve his penalty. What a shame. He'll probably be ruining that mistake on the way into Murray's and spinning around Matthew Bowler. But either way, the final lap begins. Dance in the lead. Hins in second, and Chris Coxhead on the podium. That's the first time we've been able to say that in a very long time, but we still have 6Ks of racing to go.
Yep, and it is Mount Panorama. We know that anything can happen and probably will. So still plenty to go on. I'm guessing we'll probably find out from Dan later on, but guessing he held off doing that penalty while the field was spreading out a bit, hoping that he would come out ahead of somebody or ahead of a couple of people. He's come out right behind Mark Noble. So Matthew Bowler and Hayden Veld both through on Benjamin Faulkner. So they're now up into 4th and 5th. Faulkner back to 6th, but he's still plus 5 positions. Chris Coxhead plus 9 from where he started, though. That's an incredible drive through the field.
Yeah, absolutely it is. You know, he's taken advantage of troubles for other drivers, and, you know, we haven't given him as much airtime as everyone else in this race. So a bit of a quiet achiever drive there for Chris Coxhead. You know, he's a sim racing veteran. He's been around iRacing for a very long time, and if he can hold on to this, it will be a very welcome result. Touch wood indeed. We'll have to wait and see, though, as Bowler and Veld are coming fast, as you said before. But out onto Conrod Straight for the final time. Bowler and Veld probably won't be able to catch Coxhead. And it looks like Cameron Dance has enough of a gap over Thomas Hins now that he can afford to cruise a little to race victory. We'll see then, coming into the braking zone, does Hinsey try and make up any ground in that braking zone? He does creep forward a little bit, but it's not enough. He won't be able to get it done. Dance, meanwhile, on the way down to Murray's, championship leader. This is going to be a very welcome result for him. And it is going to be the W for Cameron Dance. Number 6 finishes P1. And that is a very welcome swig there. Spilled some on himself too. Oh, Lordy.
He doesn't care.
Yeah, and he certainly shouldn't. Oh, man. That was a great race. You know, there's just great racing all up tonight. Bathurst always turns it up anyway, but I'm really impressed with how good the racing was in both of our categories.
100%. It was great to watch. Great battles the whole way through in both categories as well. So, yeah, it's been a really fun night to watch. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And this is just the warm-up for the entirety of the weekend as well.
Yeah, indeed. We got a night and a day of racing coming up on SimSpeed TV this weekend. Saturday, of course, starting at about 3 p.m. Australian Eastern Time. We've got the V8s, bit of an endurance for them, followed by the Jetta Cup, half-hour race for those guys. So check that out on social channels. Follow us for updates. And tune in to SimSpeed TV on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch from 3:15 Australian Eastern Time to catch that action. And of course, Jay, coming up on Sunday, it's the main event, the Bathurst 1000. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. It's time to go through the results from this second race. Cameron Dance comes home in P1, half a second ahead of Thomas Hins. It's another second back to Chris Coxhead, who has a fantastic podium finish to add to his hat. Great feather in his cap there. Matthew Bowler will recover to finish in 4th. Could have been the win for him were it not for that coming together with Daniel Yeaman. Then Hayden Veld comes back to finish in the top 5 after a very chaotic race for him. Benjamin Faulkner gaining 5 spots. Great finish there in 6th. Daniel Cheney finishes where he started. Liam Hall +1. Sebastian Flock +5. And Taylor Oakes finishing where he started, rounding out the top 10.
Robbie Bradbury in 11th +2 positions. Dan Yeaman, though, finishes down 10 due to that drive-through penalty in 12th position. Mark Noble up a couple, as was Anthony Green and Shane Best, with Tyson Broad and Simon Mazzomo unfortunately dropping back through the field. Broad did finish the race, although be it 4 laps down, and a DNF for Simon Mazzomo. Unfortunately, Brett O'Keefe did not take to the start after his issues early on in race number 1.
Indeed. Well, we can go to driver interviews now, and I suppose we'll go for the Race 2 podium in inverse order. First driver we're going to have a chat to is Chris Coxhead. Well, Chris, congratulations on a podium finish here at Bathurst. Mount Panorama always turning it up.
Thanks, Reese. Apologies for, well, I feel like I've got no voice, thanks to the old itchy throat. Managed to catch
worries.
it. But no, really happy with third place there. Like, first race was a bit of a disaster. I didn't expect to move up that much, but just kept the car clean, watched everyone else keep taking each other out, and found my way up there towards the end. It was good.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the thing about racing at Mount Panorama, is staying out of trouble. If you can keep it out of the wall, if you can keep it clean, keep it away from other cars as well, it will pay dividends. Do you think that your years of experience racing in the V8SCOPS Bathurst 1000 has contributed to that?
Oh, to some degree, for sure. The more you race here, the more you learn. But that's not to say I didn't touch the walls that race. I still had a few small glimpses, but got lucky, I suppose, yeah.
Well, can we expect you to be racing in the V8s category tomorrow? I know that you'll definitely be getting behind the wheel for the 1000 on Sunday.
No, yeah, just 1,000 for me, yeah. But, I'll be cheering on Henry and Aaron there in the Jinx Shifters cars. Hopefully they can go well, and then Henry and I can back that up on Sunday, yeah.
Indeed. Well, before we let you go, Chris, anyone that you'd like to thank for your podium tonight?
Oh, just all our sponsors and Jinx Shifters and the team. Thanks to Hinsey there, sharing us a set last minute. Felt good, so yeah.
That's Chris Coxhead there in car number 2, finishing P3. Fantastic result there from him. Next up, we have got second place in race 2, third in race 1, Thomas Hinz. Well, Hinsey, we talked to you before the break, and you were hoping for a good result here tonight. Unfortunately, the starts of the races didn't quite go your way, just bogging down off the start. But either way, getting a double podium out of this, certainly a welcome result for you.
Yeah, thanks, Reese. Again, it's the same as I always do. I always forget to actually practice the starts. So usually I go into nearly everything I do, I forget. So I go in, I'm like, how do I start the car again? That's how. So that was on me. But worked out all right. Ended up keeping up there, and good to get the up on cam in the first one, and then obviously the second one was getting juicy at the front and some dramas there. Managed to capitalise. So very very happy with the podiums. My mind, I'm just happy I beat Mez. Frankly, I don't think I'll be able to catch Cam. I'll keep him honest as much as I can, but I'm sort of content with the second, frankly. So but I'll try and keep him honest and keep going at it.
Well, there's still a couple of rounds to go in the flat sixes, so there's any chance that something can happen. Before we let you go, Hinsey, anyone that you'd like to thank?
I'll say it again because Ben would remind me if he could, but he doesn't have the means to. But this is for you, Ben, I guess, and well, everyone there at HGR. But hit Jinx Shifters again for the awesome sponsorship to looking on the cars and everything. Looks fantastic. Big thanks to actually, I'll give a special shout out to Henry for the Porsche, because he originally did, I think, all blue, and then he did a range of colours, and I saw the purple and I was like, yes, give me that purple. So big thanks to Henry for all the awesome liveries he does. He's just such a magician with liveries. So big thanks to him for that. And obviously for also the supports that all this work that he does with Fish and everybody else that runs it and keeps it in check and does such a great job with it. So it's always appreciated and awesome stuff. And big thanks to you guys for putting on a great show.
Well, Thomas Hinz joining us there. Fantastic result for him. And of course, a win in race 2 tonight for your Flat Sixes Championship leader, Cameron Dance. Congratulations, Cam. The beer was spilt, but nothing else was. A great set of results for you tonight.
Yeah, could have wished it would have been a podium in race 1, but oh well, we'll take the P4 and take the one in the final race.
Yeah, indeed. Just take us through that first race, because you and Thomas Hinz, you've raced against each other for years, and tonight was just more of that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, for some reason, I just seem to lack a little bit of overall pace for some reason over the sort of top and second half of the lap, which I couldn't quite understand and work out, but made a change at the second race, and it sort of helped it. But I don't know if it was whether it was actually worth the change, to be honest. But yeah, just really, really weird how we lacked a little bit of pace. But yeah, really, really cool battle with Hinsey overall, to be honest. Like, really clean, really respectful, like nothing untoward or anything like that. So yeah, really, really fun as always.
Absolutely was. Well, the Bathurst 1000, of course, on Sunday. Will you be watching? Will you be driving? What's going on for you?
Probably watching, to be honest. I don't have a co-driver at all, and I haven't signed up for a SCOPS at all. So yeah, I'll probably be on the sidelines giving it a watch.
All right, well, we hope to see you in the YouTube chat when that comes around. Before we let you go, Cam, anyone you'd like to thank?
Yeah, just obviously all the Orbit Motorsport crew for all the hard work and all the support as always, and obviously our sponsors, Hybrid Tune, Demon Tweaks, Fight CRC, Sim3D, Dan and Taylor for putting on another good run as always for the team, and yeah, you boys in the broadcast booth for the good work behind the scenes, and Race Control for the awesome work handing out penalties.
All right, well, Cameron Dance making his way to the interview booth with us, Jay. That's going to round out our show for tonight. But, of course, we have tomorrow V8s and Jetta Cup. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, Jetta Cup should be great. Final round of the Jetta Cup series, and, of course, the V8s, their Enduro round. And, of course, it doesn't end there as well. Tomorrow night, starting just before 6 p.m. Eastern, qualifying and the shootout from around about 8:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. And then Sunday, the big one, the Great Sim Race from 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. It is the best race of the year for a reason. We love it. We love doing it every year. Bring it on.
Bring it on indeed. Make sure to keep tuned to our social channels across the weekend and tune in for our live stream as well. If you enjoyed this stream, make sure to chuck it a like on the social platform of your choice. Thanks very much once again to Logitech G for their support of this series, and to the crew at Oceanic Sim Racing for putting all of this series together and running things behind the scenes. I'm Reese Gardner, it's Jay Kennedy alongside me in the comms box and making everything happen on screen for you. We're SimSpeed TV, we'll see you tomorrow.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to him!
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Six very close. These guys, I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go. Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!